every day a healthy day.
Well, then, what do we do with this film?
Don't worry, I'll handle this. And I'll give you a satisfying result. Is it okay?
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
What's up?
How long do we have to be here? What is inappropriate? Even in there, I didn't sell her out.
I know hitting someone is wrong, but I didn't just hit anyone. Sure, Yiming did what he did. Shouldn't he be punished? No one's punishing him now. Didn't I have to do it?
Isn't this your dream? You worked so hard for years. Isn't it to make your dream come true? This is not just your own business. This is our whole family's business.
This is Good Morning Kenya. Welcome, and it is always a pleasure to have you start off the day with us. Today is the 29th of January 2025, almost coming to a close of the first month of the year. Today being a Wednesday, we have a lot in store for you. We actually have a cocktail of happenings right here on the show. Today we'll be having politics, and then aside from politics, we'll also be having women at the forefront. And our woman at the forefront today goes by the name of Prophet Ruth Boyce, and she is the CEO Last Call Ministries. She is a lady who is doing great things in her community, in the community she lives in. She has programs that are supporting widows as well as orphans, and she'll be here as our woman at the forefront just to get to talk to us about how she does what she does. And then we'll also be having Mr. Johnson Ondisho, and Mr. Johnson Ondisho is KCB Bank Kenya head of digital channels. He'll be here to talk to us about multi-currency card. You want to stay tuned for that conversation. I am not alone in studio. Mike Megwe is here as well as Marie Ambo. But let us begin with Mike. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Vivian. How are you doing?
Good. I'm great.
I'm also
doing very well.
Yes. I'm also great, and welcome to the program. For you who is watching KBC Channel 1, as usual, on Wednesday, we have a buffet of everything that is happening in the country, including the war on graft, now that the EACC is targeting more than 26 counties in its efforts to curb corruption in the country. And also yesterday, the femicide task force was sworn in, and the idea is to strengthen Kenya's efforts in tackling femicide. As that is happening, FKE also has raised a red flag when it comes to matters concerning the reading of the pay slip of workers in Kenya. But that report, which was released by FKE, has been refuted or has been rebutted by KOTU Secretary General, that is Francis Atwoli. And as that is happening, even when it comes to the political front, the happenings is that various political fronts are shopping for coalitions. So what does that mean? And if you look at coalitions that have ruled this country in the last 20 or so years, none of those coalitions start as one but end differently. What goes wrong? It is one of the things that we are going to be looking at the state of the nation this morning. Wilson Sosion, who is a former nominated MP, Daniel Orogo, who is a politics and governance expert, Wakili Peter Wasaga and Wakili George Kithi will be joining me in studio to expound or talk about the state of the nation. Welcome once again. My name is Mike Megwe. Marie, how are you doing?
I'm very well, Mike, and you?
I am good.
Okay, so a very good morning from wherever you're joining us. Definitely, this is Good Morning Kenya. I'll bring you up to speed with what is happening as far as the news is concerned. By now, you know that there's a crisis in the DRC, and yesterday, Kenya's, embassy was attacked. And those are some of the stories that we'll bring you this morning, including the fact that the president also attended Energy Summit in Tanzania, where, there's a plan to connect over 300 million, African citizens to the grid. So I'll be bringing you details of that. And the EACC investigates theft of 100 billion shillings from government institutions. And just have already alluded to 300 million people to be connected to the grid as leaders meet in Tanzania. And a 42-member anti-femicide task force is sworn in with the worrying statistics in the last 6 months. All that coming up in the news this morning, including business and sports. But I want to begin with the crisis in Goma, where the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has protested the attack on Kenya's embassy in Kinshasa by demonstrators protesting the invasion of the city of Goma by M23 rebels. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi called for the respect of international law as diplomats enjoyed inviolable protection. The embassies of Rwanda, France, Belgium, and the United States were also attacked.
As the crisis in Goma, Eastern DRC continues to unfold, the Kenyan embassy staff in Kinshasa became victims of rioters' attacks by demonstrators who are accusing the international community of inaction. This has prompted a protest note by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that called on the Kinshasa regime to ensure the upholding of international law and guarantee the security of the foreign missions and their staff. Musalia Mudavadi says he has secured the assurance of his counterpart, Therese Kaikwamba Wagner, who promised to assess and compensate damages inflicted on the embassy. The protesters also descended on the Rwanda, France, Belgium, and the United States embassy. Meanwhile, Goma remains the scene of active gunfights, with hospitals now overwhelmed with injured persons seeking treatment. Hundreds of fatalities have been reported in the ongoing confrontation between the Congolese army and the M23 rebels. Thousands of people have been fleeing multiple active conflict zones. President William Ruto will on Wednesday convene an emergency meeting of the East Africa Region Heads of State Summit meant to discuss the situation in Eastern DRC.
Of course, we'll be following that story for you in the sense that the president will be holding an EAC summit where, that particular crisis will be on the table. We also expect the Rwandan president and, DRC's President Tshisekedi to be part and parcel of those talks. So moving on, President William Ruto Tuesday attended the African Heads of State in Energy Summit in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, for the launch of an ambitious initiative aimed at connecting 300 million people in the continent to electricity in the next 5 years. The meeting aimed at accelerating Africa's electrification also brought together players in the energy sector and philanthropists.
President William Ruto on Tuesday left for Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, to attend the African Heads of State Energy Summit. The summit aimed at launching Mission 300, an initiative seeking to deliver affordable and sustainable power to more than half of the 600 million people in the continent currently without electricity by the year 2030. Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan, who was the host, said the initiative is about empowering families, lifting millions out of poverty, providing hope and opportunities for the youth.
It is about our commitment to economic transformation, fostering industries, creating jobs and sparking innovation across Africa. And it is about realizing the promise of uplifting every African community.
Key partners in the new electrification drive include the World Bank Group, the African Development Bank Group, the Rockefeller Foundation, and the African Union.
Over the next decade, 360 million young people in Africa will be ready to enter the workforce. That same decade, the African system is expected to only offer jobs to 150 million of these, leaving 3 out of every 5 young people without the opportunity of a job which gives you not just earning, but dignity.
The African Development Bank's $20 billion Desert to Power program will complement Mission 300 and develop 10,000 megawatts of solar power across 11 Sahelian countries and provide access to electricity for an additional 250 million people. Therefore, the Mission 300 and the Desert to Power working collectively will provide 550 million Africans with electricity.
The summit culminated in the heads of state and governments present signing the Dar es Salaam Energy Declaration. On the sidelines of the summit, President Ruto held talks with UN Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohamed and discussed de-escalating the raging conflict in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo.
Give us some minor reporting there. At the same time, Kenya's candidate for the African Union chair position, Raila Odinga, attended the Africa Head of State Energy Summit in Dar es Salaam, where he lobbied for support for his candidacy. Odinga on Tuesday met attending heads of states and government as his campaign for the position hits fever pitch.
Ahead of the African Union elections in 2 weeks' time, Kenya's candidate for the African Union Commission chairperson Raila Odinga intensified his campaign in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. During the summit, which brings together African leaders across the continent, focusing on advancing sustainable energy solutions for Africa, Odinga lobbied for support from African head of state and government attending the meeting. On Tuesday, he met Zambia's Hakainde Hichilema, Malawi's Lazarus Chakwera, Botswana's Gideon Boko, Burundi's Evariste Ndayishimiye, among others, in a bid to consolidate his support base in the continent. Though he was missing in the meeting chaired by President William Ruto on Monday, bringing together 5 heads of state to discuss African Union reform, President Ruto is said to have sought the support of visiting leaders. Raila will face off Madagascar's Foreign Affairs Minister Richard Mandria Mandrato and Djibouti's Foreign Affairs Minister Mohamed Ali Yusuf. His campaign emphasizes on the importance of Pan-African unity, economic integration, and addressing energy challenges.
Thank you, Gladys Mungai. Now, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is actively investigating corruption cases amounting to over 100 billion shillings in government institutions and county governments. In a report for the financial year 2023-2024, the commission indicates it received 5,171 reports, out of which 534 cases are under review, with 25 classified as high-impact cases. The report also indicates that 25 former and current governors are on the Commission's radar.
The voluminous report from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has exposed rot within the 2 levels of government, with bribery topping the index.
The forms of corruption, you can note from the graph that bribery still stands as the most prevalent form of corruption.
The anti-graft body has adversely mentioned 9 institutions whose systems it claims are prone to misuse. During the launch of the financial statement for the year 2023-2024, EACC CEO Abdi Mohamud confirmed that sleuths have been dispatched to the Kenya Revenue Authority, Port Health Services at the JKIA, National Police Service, Ministry of Land Registries, Kericho Referral Hospital, NTSA, Kenhawe Bridges, and Nairobi City County Government, where integrity tests will be conducted on their systems.
Even if those institutions they always top whenever we do the surveys in the corruption perception survey, we will not give up. It is our job to ensure that we keep on pushing together with the management of those institutions so that we reduce the levels of corruption in those institutions.
As per the document, the Commission received 5,171 reports and picked 534 cases for investigations, classifying 25 as of high impact in nature. Topping the list is the misappropriation of 26.5 billion shillings at Tana Athi Water Works Development Agency in the award of tenders for Ruiru 2 Water Project, Karimenu Water Project and Kitui Matu Water Project. Second on the list is the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation KBC that is being investigated over allegations of a 19.2 billion shilling irregular engagement in the financial year of 2005-2006 and termination of a joint venture between KBC and Channel 2 Group Corporation in 2009 that led to the arbitral claim of $150 million in the year 2012. Closing off the top three is the Kenya Railways 8 billion shilling staff retirement benefit scheme, which sleuths are investigating allegations of irregular disposal of land measuring 139 acres in Makongeni, Nairobi County by the Chief Executive Officer in the year 2021-2022 and 2022-2023. The 212-page report also indicates that EACC is on the trail of 25 former and sitting governors over allegations of bribery, economic crimes and unethical conduct. In the devolved units, the county government of Kajiado is being investigated for the loss of 2.3 billion shillings over tenders awarded to various companies associated with top officials from the devolved unit. Nairobi City County government is second with misappropriation of 93.4 million shillings of public coffers for irregular payments to 13 companies for non-delivery of goods or services during the financial year 2022-2023.
We have observed an emerging trend and pattern where public officials are enrolling the members of their families, their children, their wives, their husbands, their relatives, to be their proxies in stealing from the public.
During the period under review, the Commission forwarded 126 investigation files on corruption, economic crimes and unethical conduct to the Director of Public Prosecutions, or DPP, recommending prosecution of suspects, out of which 104 were recommended for prosecution, 8 for administrative action and 14 for closure due to decision delay. The anti-graft body has further recovered corruptly acquired assets and unexplained wealth held by public officers worth over 2.9 billion shillings. The Commission also filed 47 new civil suits to recover assets estimated at 9.2 billion shillings.
Morality and ethics in society refuse to be silenced by receiving proceeds of corruption as donations to your religious institutions and programs, projects. And when we receive some of these donations and contributions, we need to find out how it was all acquired.
Health, where Health Cabinet Secretary Deborah Barasa now says the Ministry of Health is thoroughly scrutinizing areas that might be affected by the recent executive order signed by the U.S. President Donald Trump for appropriate interventions. According to Barasa, the move by Trump to review U.S. policy on global health is a wake-up call for African countries to embrace local solutions. Some of the areas affected by Trump's executive order include AIDS relief and TB funding.
Speaking during the East Africa Region Global Health Security Summit, the Health Cabinet Secretary Deborah Barasa reiterated that the COVID-19 pandemic served as an eye-opener to African countries on the need to upscale the healthcare systems.
This summit is a call to action. It is a call to move forward and translate our commitments into tangible results. Let us embrace the spirit of partnership and solidarity as we work towards a common goal, a region that is better prepared, more resilient, and capable of withstanding future health challenges.
Participants noted the need to seal the gaps in the healthcare sector, which includes trained human resource, need to purchase modern equipment and infrastructure.
It's also an opportunity to begin to look at the workforce, where we have critical gap. As we are all aware, there is no health without workforce. So hence the need for us to really use this opportunity to revisit that agenda of strengthening the health workforce as far as the East Africa region is concerned.
We all know the environment we are in, the context we are in, so it's critical to strategically think about ways of mobilizing resources, securing resources, to make sure that our health challenges are addressed.
We have equipped over 110,000 workers with devices that have been manufactured in Kenya.
that also represents another critical pillar: local manufacturing, local jobs, and also affordable devices that can be put in the hands of health workers to allow them to provide healthcare universally across the country seamlessly.
We need to have resilient systems. This includes having universal health coverage that is affordable, accessible, quality care to all, as well as having components of health security strengthened.
The CS at the same time said Kenya was perusing to identify areas that might have been affected by the recent executive order signed by the USA president for appropriate interventions.
As the Ministry of Health, I have tasked the various state departments, the various programs and directors that have been involved or that will be affected by this, so that we can be able to map out and look at the impact in matters finances, in matters human resource, etc. And with this, we'll come up with a concrete way forward in terms of interventions, of which we'll be able to share with the Cabinet, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, and see how we can move forward in matters intervention.
Information, Communication and the Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary, that is William Kabogo, says the government has no plans to switch off social media. Kabogo, who was in Eldoret, said even though the government emphasizes free speech, there should be some sense of responsibility by social media users.
Information, Communication and the Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary William Kabogo was in Eldoret City for the annual Data Privacy Conference. The CS maintaining that the government does not intend to interfere with social media.
Many have been told Kabogo says he'll interfere with social media. I have no business interfering with social media. Hiyo ni zile propaganda tu za wale watu hawana kazi ya kufanya.
Despite citizens enjoying freedom of expression, Kabogo called for responsible use of the various platforms.
Unajua mimi ukinibandika kwa jeneza saa hii na hii kipara yangu, I don't care. Let's just be honest. You'll be wasting time. And remember, you have the right to express yourself. It's enshrined in our Constitution. But your right stops where the right of the other person starts.
He urged social media users to use the platform to engage in constructive criticism.
Let us create the discussion online. I will open the portals of our ministries so you engage government directly.
He said that his main objective is to deliver on his mandate.
Mimi niko na kazi nimepatiwa ya kufanya na ni kuweza kueneza internet kila mahali Kenya na iweze kupatikana kwa njia ya rahisi. Hata sokoni, hata kwa bus stop. The president says, Kabogo, go and get Kenya connected, and that's the job I will do, and I will do it properly.
On politics, the CS downplayed claims of division in the Mount Kenya region.
Mlima haina shida. Mimi nitaenda mlimani baadaye na nitatumana salamu za Mheshimiwa Rais na zitapokewa. Haiwezekani kamwe wewe ukue jikoni mahali kunapikwa, alafu ukishafurushwa umetoka nje ya jikoni unaanza kusema unajua bwana alikuwa anapika sumu ananipatia niwapatie.
Now, 100 women have been killed in the last 6 months in reported incidents of femicide. In shocking statistics of the reality of femicide, 15 out of the 100 have been killed in the month of January 2025. Interior Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo has called for multi-stakeholders interventions to safeguard the safety and welfare of women in the country. He spoke during the swearing-in ceremony of 42-member task force appointed by President William Ruto to provide institutional, legal and policy framework to curb the menace.
In what illustrates the Herculean task confronting the Nancy Baraza-led 42-member task force, the Interior Ministry says 100 women have been killed in the last 6 months.
For the last 6 months, the country has recorded more than 100 cases of femicide.
And in the month of January, 15 young women have been reported dead, some in incidents of love turned sour.
And sadly, this month alone, 15 women and girls have lost their lives through GBV.
Separate statistics from the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights show that 97 cases of femicide were reported from August to November 2024.
Those who commit these heinous crimes impact on our society directly, since the victims are our mothers, daughters, sisters, and nieces. Femicide in Kenya must end.
The task force was sworn in on Tuesday, marking the beginning of the daunting task of not only identifying solutions to the worrying trend, but also formulating a legal and policy framework to guide government's intervention and the quickening of prosecutions of perpetrators.
We pledge to execute our mandate with precision and professionalism, to provide the country with proposals that will offer a lasting solution to the issue of gender-based violence, including femicide.
Former Deputy Chief Justice Nancy Baraza, who will chair the task force, called for collaborative efforts by stakeholders.
We urge all Kenyans to come forward and share their expertise and insights. Only by working together can we create a safe society for boys and girls, men and women.
Any country that a child or woman cannot walk around freely is not a free country yet.
Interior Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo also calling for a holistic and balanced approach in tackling GBV by delving into underlying social and cultural issues.
There are existing gaps in the prevention, response, investigations, prosecution, data management, as well as survivor support systems in GBV and femicide cases.
The task force is domiciled under the Office of Deputy President Kithure Kindiki and will submit its report in 90 days.
We look at business now. Part of the levy reintroduced on key cash crops will be used to support the fertilizer subsidy program to make it sustainable and extend its coverage to more small-scale farmers. Here is Benson Rioba with the details.
The fertilizer subsidy was allocated 10 billion shillings in the current financial year. Players in the agriculture sector say the amount is not sufficient, hence the need to raise additional funds to support the fertilizer subsidy program kitty. This could be through levies to some key crops.
For a tax, where else to tax for the benefit of our farmers? I know we have got different commodities like sugar, like coffee, like tea, which sometimes we had proposed that let there be a small levy from these particular crops so that it's able to be plowed back into the input for it.
They are calling for a review of some taxes on companies handling fertilizer to reduce the cost of production.
There is some research that shows that agriculture withholding taxes and maybe also levies certainly have a negative impact on farmers in the short run.
They also want farmers to adopt sustainable and modern farming technologies that involve use of organic fertilizer, economic land use, intercropping and lime use.
I think one of the way to ensure that we move forward with fertilizer is to ensure that we have all our soils tested so that we optimize on the requirements as opposed to putting a blanket recommendations.
A look at sports now, where reigning champions Kenya Pipeline are set to defend their title at this year's CAVB Zone 5 Club Championship, scheduled to take place from the 26th of February to the 4th of March at the Lugogo Indoor Stadium in Kampala, Uganda. Kenya Pipeline are the sole representatives from Kenya in the competition, which will feature 14 teams, 7 men's teams and 7 women's teams. Host Uganda will field 8 teams, having secured the rights to host the event through a formal bidding process by edging out Rwanda. This will be the first regional tournament since Uganda's Sadiq Nasiru assumed leadership of the regional body following the 2024 CAVB Congress in Morocco, where he succeeded Rwanda's Ferdinand Ruterana. That's where we end the bulletin this morning. As always, thank you so much for your company. My name is Marie Yambo. My colleague Mike Megwe is on standby, and he'll be taking you through the rest of Good Morning Kenya on The Viewpoint.
Want to look through this matter identity because the most affected are the young people.
I believe purpose is why you are here.
Okay.
Yes. At such a time as this, I'm going to bring Macy into the world, and she's going to have this assignment. She's going to carry this burden. Okay. So it is an assignment that has been given to us by God.
David served the purposes of God in his generation. No man will ever live to affect 2 generations.
Kuvuka mpaka. Nitavuka hadi boda. Mungu, makinika. Kwa jua au kwa mvua, tusitafutane. Utalaumiwa wewe.
Mimi siogopi lawama.
Ondoka wewe. Ondoa marondo yako hapa.
Ukweli upi?
Kalume amekuja kuniambia mimba ulionayo ni yake.
Nini?
Ningependa turudi kama ilivyokuwa zamani. Tushirikiane.
Kwa lipi?
Muone madui zangu wanatumia huko kutengana kwetu kuniangusha mimi.
Wellness is important in our daily lives, so that instead of just surviving, we should be thriving.
Ways to prevent a stroke or heart attack is for you to know what conditions you have. By regular checkup, people don't know they have hypertension, they don't know they have diabetes.
I was pre-diabetic. I was afraid of getting lifestyle diseases because I come from a family that has lifestyle diseases.
How do you know if your cough is due to a serious condition? We'll have some answers. Stay well
and strive to make every day a healthy day.
Friday night again. Greetings in the name of the Most High Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice,
we have to do it twice.
Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mark Migu and you're watching The Viewpoint. Today we have a lot to talk about, but before that, let's go through what is captured or what is being reported on our local dailies, and I will start with the Star newspaper. 26 counties targeted in EACC war on graft, commission to investigate 19 state corporations and 5 public universities. That story is told on page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper. The commission, no, there's another story here that is captured, but it's pictorial. Raila campaigns at Africa Energy Summit. That story is showing Raila, who is angling for the Africa Union Commission chairperson, talking with the Nigerian president, that is Tinubu, and Kenyan president, that is William Ruto. That story is told on page 7 of the Star newspaper. Chaos as Kenya embassy in DR Congo torched. Kenya embassy in Kinshasa was among diplomatic missions targeted by protesters disgruntled by the M23. You will read that story on page 6 of the Star newspaper. On what is captured on the front page of the Daily Nation, that is DRC erupts. Kenya has the region in crisis. Kenya has demanded reparations from Kinshasa for embassy attack. Kenyan, Ugandan, Rwandan, South African and US embassies in Congolese capital Kinshasa came under attack by rioters protesting the seizure of Goma by Rwanda-backed M23 rebels, casting a global spotlight on a protracted conflict that has spiraled out of control in recent days. Meanwhile, President Ruto is today expected to host an extraordinary summit of the East African heads of state to address the delicate situation or security situation that is not only a threat to businesses, but which also risks throwing the region into a costly humanitarian crisis. And on the front page of the Standard, a grand cover-up, a Nakuru fisherman went to fend for his family, but 10 days later, Kenya Wildlife Service officers who arrested him claim he escaped, and the police have no idea where he is, and the courts, his mother and wife, are also clueless in these times of forced disappearances. Questions linger on what actually happened to Brian Odhiambo. That is what is captured on the front page of our local dailies. Already in studio, I have Bwana Wilson Sosion, who is a former nominated MP. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning, our viewers, wherever you are.
And also Daniel Orogo, who is a politics and governance expert. Karibu sana.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
Great, thank you for the invitation.
Karibu sana, karibu sana. Let me start with you, Bwana Orogo. There are 26 counties that are targeted in EACC war on graft. 26 counties, that's more than half of the counties that we have in this country. What do you think of that first?
I think for a long time, I think the war on graft had been one mention to be focusing on the key national institutions and the key personalities. But for a long time, I think we had been advocating that could we also look at how, in one way or the other, we could have devolved grafts to the counties. Just as the transition from the transition authority, the Constitutional Transition Authority was, preferring certain responsibilities at the national government and the rest that are devolved. I think there was a semblance that power, responsibilities, resources devolved definitely might have landed into the hands of people who do not appreciate the provisions of Chapter 6 of the Constitution, and that in the management of those particular resources, there seems to be a semblance of corruption. And one thing that I keep on urging is that we haven't really reconciled by the fact that the definition of corruption, what is really is. I think I keep on advocating for this in various platforms. How then, what is it? Because we had associating with economic crimes and certain aspects of nepotism. So definitely, and not only Kenya, I think the definition, the lack of that definition, what exactly is this ghost call? Because we prefer to it as a ghost, as a national scourge, and therefore that needs to be declared and a disaster. So I think that is really a good move. There needs to be a lot of asset recovery in the counties. You've seen the former county governor for Samburu has had various cases. Previous governors, governor of Nairobi previously, a number, Migori, are still having a lot of cases that are still pending, awaiting completion. And yet, there's no issue about recovery of those particular assets. So I think it's quite important that now, I agree with the office, and I agree with those who are responsible, that the guns are trailed towards the right direction as well. That there needs to be a lot of pilferage in the county governments, and that really needs to be the focus of the country moving forward. One of the things that you also need to look at is the higher institutions of higher learning. You've had a lot of cases, a lot of hiring that are being done against the provisions of the law. So I think it's quite important to trail your guns in other institutions, but it is a direction, a good direction. It's a good step.
It's a good step. No, I want to get your sentiments, Mheshimiwa Sosion, on this. And also, Orogo raises a very pertinent question in terms of defining corruption. What is the definition of corruption? Because sometimes people think corruption is only when it comes to misuse or mismanagement of public funds.
Corruption is not just stealing of public funds. It is also misuse and abuse of office. And it's very extensive. Anything in governance that is outside the laid down procedures, that is outside the law, that leads to wastage of resources, that leads to poor governance, all that is corruption. And these are deliberate criminal actions committed by public officers who are given offices. And the Integrity Act is a law, is in place to ensure that this is weeded out. But of course, many years down the line, and it has been said our economy is very resilient. It has been able to withstand over 60 years of vicious corruption activities and actions. And if we were to eliminate corruption, I think one thing I disagree with in this country is the language of let us reduce the incidences of corruption, and we try to justify. In some countries, even in the US, there is corruption, so that then it looks like we want to live and create some harmony with corruption as if it is something normal. It is what has created the mess in this country, what has denied thousands of youth jobs. We have one of the biggest youth unemployment rate in this country. We have a very complicated economy that cannot grow because of vices and culture of corruption, and people occupying offices who are conflicted, incompetent, and also corrupt. And when we have investigations in 26 counties, it means 26 governors and officers under the supervision of governors committed crimes of corruption. And even the devolution that was envisaged to be a panacea of eliminating poverty and taking development to the grassroots may not be doing it after all. We could be losing lots of resources and getting things done wrongly at that level. I think I'll borrow what the Prime Minister of Singapore said, keep the system clean. Keep it clean.
But
and
then again, how do we keep it clean?
To keep it clean, get any corrupt officer out. In fact, the legal minds here, I think it is time we classify corruption as one of the most serious crimes that should be punished as a country. It must be punished. Countries that have succeeded have punished it. You go to a country like Malaysia and you commit corruption-related cases, you are hanged. You are committed to death. You go to China and those countries, you can't practice corruption. You do it, by 3 p.m. you have been prosecuted and you have been sentenced to death. But here in Kenya, you are committed and you commit a crime, then you are suspended from office, then you go and manipulate systems and get back to the same office after a while. I think as a country, I don't think even EACC, the way it is structured, really has lived up to the expectation of Kenyans to get rid of corruption. I think it is an institution that has been interfered with so that it can promote harmony of corruption with governance, because we want to live with corruption. It is a choice as a country. If we want to live with it, we will continue having these problems. An economy that cannot progress, and youth unemployment and poverty. The end product of corruption is poverty for everyone.
Okay.
But if we eliminate it, it's prosperity for all.
All right.
And equality for all. So we have a choice, and I want to look at it from the revolutionary point of view. If you really need to change the country, then take a deliberate revolutionary step and combat corruption in the most criminal and vicious nature. And nobody should be exempted, whether they are lawyers, whether they are experts, whether they are who. If you are a criminal, you are a criminal.
All right. All right. Let me also say we are also joined by Wakili Peter Wasaga, who is an advocate of the High Court, and also Wakili George Kithi, an advocate of the High Court. Welcome, gentlemen, and thank you for making time. Let me start with you, Wasaga. 26 counties being targeted by the EACC in matters corruption. Corruption, we have talked about corruption year in, year out. But question is, have we been deliberate in dealing with this menace?
Thank you so much for having me in this show. It's very cold out here. But we are grateful that we can breathe.
Yes.
Corruption, legislating corruption would not be any cure, because already we have very many legislations that tackle the menace of corruption. Starting from the Constitution, there is a whole chapter in the Constitution that deals with integrity. And talking about integrity is just basically zero tolerance to corruption. We have to go to the basic tenets and the anatomy of this country and look at and ask very serious questions. What is the vision? What is the mission of this country? One which is very clear is that we need a just country, a country that adheres to the rules of law, a country that respects the people, and that I mean real respect. When you respect the people, one, you will deliver on your development agenda. The moment you speak it and you do not deliver, it's a form of corruption in itself. There is also budgeted corruption, where it cannot be seen, but it's there, because it's budgeted in most of the government expenditures. You will see it's captured. And it's very eminent in tendering processes, where what is very eminent that can cost this is outrageously ballooned to cover certain individuals. And that notwithstanding, there are so many corruption allegations that we have had in the past, starting from the national government, going to the counties, going to government departments. I saw the departments that were enlisted, one of which corruption is very rampant, is the KRA itself. Looking at that, it's the same body that wants to tax and collect taxes from individuals in order to fund the government. And they are the ones who have been listed as one of the most corrupt institutions. Looking at land registry, for example, registering any transfer, any transmission, you'll have to cough some money for registry officials just to have that done. And such loopholes, if not covered, we may all be here making a lot of noise, but then everyone wants the shortcut. It starts from all of us. Because assuming that this morning you are coming here, or Honorable Sosion was coming to this show, and he is driving on the wrong side, and he meets a police officer, and that police officer asks him to give him 1,000, and of course he's coming for this show and maybe catching up a flight or any other important engagement, I wonder if a Kenyan, I'm just using Mheshimiwa for example, or my brother Kithi, I wonder if he would resist that temptation of giving out 1,000 or going to court. So we have normalized corruption, and it's like the safest way out of a problem. And when this continues, it escalates to the national level, it escalates to the presidency, it escalates to the parliament, and it escalates even to the counties. Now, looking at it, how can we tackle this? Number one, let's take, for example, if parliament can exercise its oversight role without any compromise, that will be, just at looking at Article 95 of the Constitution, that will be a plus in itself. Why? Because there are so many, budgeted corruptions which are very eminent, but since the government and a government department or a body wants to initiate that program, notwithstanding any hues and cries, the parliament in itself will be boxed in, and when they are boxed in, they'll pass that law notwithstanding any hues and cries. Looking at the finance bill, for example, 2023-2024, and what led us to the Gen Z protest that actually brought a paradigm shift in this country. Looking at that as well, the presidency, right now everyone is fighting for survival. You've seen and you've heard, sometimes positions are not handed with meritocracy. It's about awarding cronies, relatives, and people who are very close to you. And that is why those who get positions, they strive so hard to steal, because some of them did not merit. You had Migwi, the other time we've had stories, though some of them are not confirmed, of TSC letters being dished to members of parliaments to give it to their cronies without, and there are others who have actually merited to earn those positions or to get employed, but they are not getting that. It's because of corruption. So getting down to what should be done, it's very simple. Let us change our ethos. You cannot legislate on corruption. It has been legislated over and over again.
Changing our ethos. Now, Wakili Kithi, of course, the framework is there, but is it strong enough to deter, not to deal with or deter corruption cases?
No. And corruption is not ending in this country anytime soon. It's not. You see, crime is a creature of society. And it's in twofold. One is the society itself practices the crime so that then at mischief we legislate against it. Number two is, unless we say a crime is a crime, it doesn't become a crime.
Yeah.
And we say corruption is a crime because there's a law that says it is a crime. Otherwise, it's nothing near a crime. For instance, a practice at a certain organization of government where an officer takes money for purpose of facilitating a job opportunity to someone, that's criminal, and it's corruption. But the same act in the private sector is not anywhere in the act, in the law, because it's private. So the same act being practiced privately is criminal. The same act practiced with an officer of government is criminal, whereas in private it's not criminal. Now, you can see therefore that the practitioners of crime in the private sector are the same ones that would then, at an opportunity, practice it within the officialdom and circles of government. So why is it that taking a bribe to facilitate someone who wants to be an askari in a private guards company, why isn't that corruption? Why is it that it's until a police officer is being employed and somebody takes a bribe, then that's corruption? So what is happening in the private sector is also happening with government. And yet in the private sector, it's not corruption, while in government, it's corruption. And therefore, there's nothing really we are doing. We are legislating where government is concerned. We are not legislating where private sector is concerned because it is private engagement. And we think that because this private money moving, it doesn't therefore affect what is in public. Those that practice corruption are Kenyans. Kenyans looking for every opportunity opportunistically to benefit. And if it can be done in private, it can be done in public. That is one. Number two, is why is an adult a candidate for corruption? Any adult. I'm saying any because we know ourselves. It is because as you grow up, you are not taught that when you become an adult, you don't practice corruption. I'll give an example. I think I said it some other time. In Japan, at a certain time, in the education curriculum, ethics is drilled into the mind and psyche of the child. So that at traffic lights, whether a vehicle is passing or not, you will wait. So the science of obedience must be drilled into the mind of Kenyans, especially when they're learning. Because it's a build-up towards the character of the person and the general psyche of the public when they become of age and the adults. What we teach is merely the education of prosperity in science, in geography, in whatever it is. But when we're forming character, we don't form it to drill a character that then will define the general unification of psyche of the human person in a Kenya, and therefore forming the Kenyan society what we want. It doesn't make sense to tell people don't steal, because if they're available, they'll be stolen. But there must be a reason why they don't steal. It's because you've created job opportunities for them. And if you don't have a job opportunity, you don't steal because you've been drilled not to steal. That's why people are drilled to go to church, and they'll go to church every Sunday, notwithstanding whether they steal or not, notwithstanding whether they're corrupt or not. The reason is, it is a practice that they've had since they were young until they become adults. And they get married in church, and they have a wedding, and they read the Bible. It is something they practice. People go to the mosque and they read the Quran. Why? Because it's been drilled into them. So there's a character issue. What we've done here, we've left the character, the mobilization of the character psyche in this country to churches and mosques. No, it must be taught. And there's nowhere, there's no platform upon which this is being taught. Where we spend a lot of time, is in schools. And everybody will give you a history of the school he went and so on and so forth. But then how it is taught in other countries, so that it becomes suicidal to participate in corruption this way. That every person, wait.
I will come to you. Let him make his point.
It is my time. So let me explain it, because I'm the one who brought it up.
Yes, finish on that point so that we take a quick break.
For instance, if we have a whole year, a whole semester, and a whole term, where ethics, the conduct of the child when he becomes a public officer or an adult, is defined within the concept of education and drilled into that person, then we are forming, generally, a certain product of that generation on what we want it to be in matters corruption. Also, I must say this, corruption exists. That's why we have law against it. And therefore eliminating crime is impossible.
All right.
We can only reduce it.
All right, let's take a very short break. We are coming back to continue with this conversation. Stay with us.
Ni kuvuka mpaka. Nitavuka hadi boda. Munde, makinika. Kwa jua au kwa mvua, tusitafutane. Utalaumiwa wewe.
Mimi siogopi lawama.
Ondoka, wewe. Ondoa marondo yako hapa.
Ukweli upi?
Kalume amekuja kuniambia mimba ulionayo ni yake.
Nini?
Ningependa turudi kama ilivyokuwa zamani. Tushirikiane.
Kwa lipi?
Woni madui zangu wanatumia huko kutengana kwetu kuniangusha mimi.
Friday night again.
Greetings in the name of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice, we have to do it twice.
Yeah. We are back, and the conversation here, gentlemen, we are back. The conversation here is getting interesting, and Wakili Kithi, you are making a point. So if you finish on it so that I can let Bwana Sosion and Orogo chime in.
There is the general conduct of a society, which becomes definitive in a nature as to characterize a people. You will say these people are hostile, these people are hospitable, and so on and so forth. There's a character definition of a certain population. But that is because the people have behaved in a manner that is constant over a period of time, so as to create acquiescence to whatever that is definitive of them. Acquiescence means not expressed by impliedly accepting a certain conduct banned by, notwithstanding the legislative environment regulating it. There is acquiescence in the general psyche of Kenyans, that for you to be able to get anything, you must be facilitative, competitively facilitative to get something. So that if there was a tender, therefore, and one proposes 500,000, another proposes 1 million, the one who is more facilitative and more responsive towards obtaining the tender will be the one that proposes the 1 million. And therefore, you compete within the corrupt act through the sense of acquiescence. And therefore, the acquiescence part is generally accepted, that because whoever gets into office behaves in the same manner like the previous and the one that comes next, that means you facilitate in order to get, otherwise you don't get. You behave in a manner to correspond and they acquiesce to that general environment. Tell me, if you've not had a job for 7 years and you're a graduate and you ask for 5,000 in order to get the job, whether you will refuse because you do not want the job on account of what you've been asked to facilitate. In a sense, therefore, corruption is the official towards the citizen and not the citizen towards the official. It starts with an environment that is restrictive to obtaining services by the public, that corruption thrives, and not the other way. Yes, it takes two to tango, so there must be a giver, but the victim here is the giver, and the one who demands is the principle in that equilibrium of corruption. So suffice it to say, therefore, that those that get into government, yet they are private citizen, complaining and behaving in a manner of oppression by those that in public, is because they were complaining because they didn't get the opportunity. Once they get into that same environment, it's an environment built up through acquiescence over time. It's a general conduct and acceptable. It continues to thrive.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if we discuss this item, we'll have as many diverse views as possible. But is it time for action? Yes, it is. We must move from words to action. Do we desire to get rid of corruption? That is a big question. We must decide. Because when did it creep into our system? It crept into our system right after independence. And we've practiced it, we've perpetuated it. And we now want to negotiate on how to live with it in harmony. It means we are agreeing to remain poorer. We are agreeing to remain a disorganized country, a disorganized nation that has no hope for the future. From Wakili's comments, two things. One, we want to fight corruption in public and ignore the private. That would be a tragedy. If we are making laws to fight corruption, it should fight corruption within the boundaries of the Republic of Kenya, in all institutions, whether private or public, a law should be applicable everywhere. And so I agree very strongly. We don't need to look like we are fighting in one area and ignoring another area. It should be within the public, anything within our economy and within our system. Number two, we make laws as a country, and we have analyzed Kenya in many aspects. We come up with the best policies. We come up with the best laws, but we don't implement. Malaysia came to benchmark with us on the economic strategy just right after independence. And they went and implemented our own ideas. I think they're in the 12 or 13 Malaysian plan now, which has taken them very far in terms of the economy. What if we implemented ours? Instead of implementing, we diverted ourselves to tribal issues, political issues, and negative issues that does not help the country, which one of them includes corruption. So I'm saying, why do we make legislation that we don't implement? We must implement. Number three, Wakili has talked about inculcating values in children and in education. I agree, but that would be a long-term intervention measures from where we are, because we must teach our children to repel, to hate corruption. And I agree, when the proponents of education reforms in this country talked about value-based education, but when you look at the framework, that thing is lacking. There is no strategy about it. I agree very strongly. That is one item, the value-based education, and we must mean it. And we must see children acquiring these values, rebelling corruption. We saw the Gen Zs the other day with their mood. That was just but a single significant, but I believe to achieve it through education, that would be a long-term thing. I agree very strongly, we must do it. But what is the short term? We must accept to criminalize, punish, and eliminate corruption everywhere. And anybody
which is what? Which is what?
Yes.
We have accepted.
We must criminalize. Yeah. Yes. No, we have the DPP, we have the police investigation, we have the EAC.
We have MPs.
And now we are talking about, the members of parliament should also oversight. No, we have created so many institutions, but then why can the country be deliberate and prosecute, punish?
It starts at the top. Okay, there's something. Okay, it starts at the top.
It's a chase of a wild goose.
And that is what you've said it starts at the top.
Yes.
It is deliberate. It's all about leadership.
Okay.
Can the leadership then?
All right.
Take corruption head on.
I agree with you. As I come to you, let me.
Because if we don't do that,
the leaders,
we will continue.
How would the leaders tackle what they don't understand?
I want you to listen to this. According to the report that ESCC tabled, reports that they received were over 5,000. That is 5,171. Active investigations are around 534. Criminal cases finalized are 45. Recommended for prosecution are 104. Losses averted 2.9 billion. Officers that failed integrity tests were 130 out of 145. Assets raised 16 billion. But here's the thing. Out of 500 active investigations, 45 have been criminal. So who is failing here? Is this the judicial system? Is this the investigative agencies in terms of dealing with corruption? Or who is lagging where?
Well, I still, retain my view because I think the two Wakilis have given us their insights into what really constitute, issues about legality on corruption. Social scientists would see a different thing. Everyone has their definition. That is why I was saying for me, it is chasing something you don't understand, because I've been asking, when a society agree, sit down, like Wakili Kidi was talking about, that it has to be criminalized.
Yes.
And that means that the country promulgated or agree that certain behaviors within the framework of our legal provision must be legalized, and therefore anyone who violates those particular provisions must face, must undergo through a criminal justice system. And that is why, from a socio-scientific point of view, it is the understanding that what Sossion is saying, that it is a strive for this harmony, that we want to maintain, as a country, with regards to what we've agreed, that certain behaviors should be criminalized, and therefore there seems to be a semblance of what we call corruption. We haven't really touched our hands and defined what this particular issue is. Because I want to agree with you. If you read further the statistics, you will find that at a certain level, there have been a portion towards something called economic crime. Either they were, participating in exchange of money in private and public, what Wakili was talking about. In certain level, people might have acted in proxy companies. Others are probably a semblance of organized crime. So you look at within the framework, others are bribery. Within the framework of what we are referring to as a corrupt, behavior, migwi, then we are trying to define the corruption in reference to what I've just mentioned, and it gets difficult because I am looking at what then institutions, because education has been mentioned as an institution, with regards to trying to socialize a child in agreeing on coming up with, being imbibed with values, which again, we have a debate on the national values. So even within the education itself, in the process of inculcating those values, the system itself incorrupt, that is a corrupt means. Within the education, there is a corrupt system of inculcating values, all right? Within the political system, there is a power struggle that looks at the inequalities. Who gets what and how does it get it? So that's why I'm telling you that in context of Kenya as a society that has criminalized corruption, and in counties as a devolved system of governance from the national government, the struggle is we are trying to see a criminal justice system that is struggling to deter, that is struggling to prevent, and that is struggling to deal with. And yet, there are certain deformities in defining what particular aspect of corruption is it in the society. And therefore, it's hard to deal with it. It is hard to deal with it. And that's why I agree with what Wakili has said, that you will see crime probably still being mentioned as corruption being part of that crime, because yet we are struggling to define what it is. We are struggling to deal with this. We are struggling, is a power issue, is a legal issue, is a legislative issue, and a country has not really sat down to agree on how to deal with corruption.
Finally, on this matter, I want to close with you on this matter, Wakili Wasaga. Would giving the EACC prosecutorial powers help in any way?
Thank you. I'll answer that question and the previous question you asked. That how then do we approach the menace of corruption?
Yeah.
One, it must be a multi-sectoral approach, starting with the bodies that have been mandated to either investigate, prosecute, and even legislate. When it comes to legislation, we have very many laws which we all agree. And I agree with my senior Wakili that there is no punishment without a law, and there is no crime without a law. So with all this, we also must look at it vis-a-vis the Constitution. And what does the Constitution say? That everyone is presumed to be innocent until proven guilty. The rules of natural justice dictates that before you are condemned, before you are hanged, you must be taken through the entire trial process, and you are either found innocent or guilty based on the evidence. So if we have one sector or one player or one actor in the fight of corruption lagging behind or sleeping on the job, then definitely you can never reach the canon when it comes to fighting corruption. Take, for example, when, for example, charges are based on, when you weaponize institutions, for example, when DCI investigates not because they need to investigate, but because there is a push from somewhere, then they end up apprehending wrong people, taking to court, taking a very long process, then eventually they are found to be innocent. and then the guilty are left. Number two, when they go after the guilty and they do not do a good work, the entire process will go through, and then at the long run, you'll find out that these guys are innocent and they are let free. Why do we say this? When it comes to prosecution, we prosecute on evidence. We prosecute on the materials that you present before the court. It's not enough to just say that someone is corrupt. You must produce those witnesses. And assuming that it's a corruption case and there are 100 witnesses, number one, corruption fights back. There is a likelihood that these corrupt individuals can easily compromise the witnesses, or they can easily compromise the system. So if the systems are not in themselves very clear in terms of fighting corruption, then it's a wild chase that can never come to a fruition. So that is number one. Number two, we must also look at the punishment. And why do we punish in law? One, we punish to deter. When we find you to be guilty of an offense, then the punishment meted on you should be able to in itself deter others from stealing. But when you are stealing and you are found to be guilty, and then after that you are told to maybe return the assets and you get into a sort of agreement, you are not punished, and some of those assets perhaps that you return are not even commensurate to what you stole, excuse me, then it means that the next time any other person can steal and they can still go through the same process. Number two, we pass sentences to change people. Apart from just changing people, we also pass sentence to punish. So if we can look at those aspects of punishment, deterrence by actually ensuring that those who are found to be culpable of corruption are actually punished severely. The other thing that you must also appreciate, and that will not be understood by so many people, that the criminal justice system is very long and tiresome. One, because you prosecute corruption, then they also have the avenue of appealing these cases. So perhaps you take 1 year to prosecute, or even 2 years to prosecute a case, and this guy is still innocent until proven guilty. Then a verdict is passed that he's guilty. Then he appeals to a higher court. If if it's a magistrate court, he goes to the high court. It takes another 2 years. This gentleman or this lady, Mheshimiwa, can easily go and run for a seat. He wins. We've seen it. Very many politicians have done that. They win it. Then after that, they go to the Court of Appeal. Then they go to the High Court. By the time you are done with that case, they shall have served their terms. Take, for example, the governors who are impeached because of gross misconduct or corruption. They go to court, which is again their right, because of that presumption of innocence and everything. They go to court, they get orders, they are kept in the office. Meanwhile, they can still clean their tracks or even bribe others to drop their testimonies. And what happens? We end up just revolving around. And that's why I said, Migwi, that it must be from within us, our ethos. Otherwise, relying on the law has failed because it has been there, and that is what scholars describe constitution without constitutionalism.
All right. I think that's that with that. But I want to talk...
Let me explain to you something before you finish.
Just a minute.
1 minute.
Yes.
The problem, because I'm speaking from experience in this one. We prosecute these cases in the course we defend them. There's a problem with intelligence gathering vis-a-vis prosecution. You know, when I watch you 4 times, 5 times, 8 times, 20 times, I'll get the intelligence about you. Converting that intelligence into evidence is the problem that we have. We have people in this country employed to collect intelligence. But then there are people also who are not the collectors, When they come to court, they prosecute. And the mechanism of prosecution and converting that into acceptable evidence meeting the standards of admission before court is different. And that's, for me, is the disconnect. Because you will bring me evidence, I'll look at it, I'll be like, this and this and this has all been looked at in terms of the security of evidence vis-a-vis the intelligence collected. So yes, DCI, NIS, and whoever will collect the evidence, the intelligence. When they come to prosecution, whether you give EACC prosecutorial powers or you don't, whoever comes to prosecute, if he does not know how to convert intelligence into evidence, we will have the same problem and the same results over and over, because that is the weakest link that we use in court.
Yes. All right, let's move on to another matter. And of late, we have witnessed in the political scene, we have seen meetings here and there of political bigwigs making moves and to try and form alliances as we approach the 2027 elections. And over the weekend, we saw the former deputy president going to the launch of DAPK party on Saturday and speaking matters to do with what is happening in the country. But when it comes to coalitions, and I will start with you, Bwana Sosi, when it comes to coalition, we've seen coalitions form at the start or before an election, get into government, but by the time we are reaching the subsequent election, they are not as one. Then the question of what is the ideal or the main purpose of forming a coalition? Is it for self or for country?
And the coalition route is a mistake. It is a mistake that must be corrected now, because the politics of a state, a vibrant and a progressive democracy, is founded on strong political parties with clear tradition, clear policies, clear internal democratic structures, and clear processes. The history of coalitions to remove a leader in power started in 2002 when there were so many opposition leaders from different parties. And US truly was in that arrangement as within the trade union. We were bitter. We were on strike for a whole month in the month of October 2002. And we wanted KANU out of power. And when Raila Odinga and Charity Ngilu walked to NAT headquarters when we were having a National Advisory Council to try and woo us to support them, we asked them one thing, that can you unite and produce one candidate? Because they lost as a divided opposition in 1992. They lost as a divided opposition in 1997. We wanted to get involved in the politics of the day, but we wanted to get involved when there was a united opposition. And that, the stories, the rest is history. Kibaki became eventually the joint opposition leader. But you know, the agreement of governance was in an MOU. And that MOU, it was reneged by Kibaki. And the National Alliance Rainbow Coalition, which was so epic at that time. And Kenyans were rated as the most optimistic people in the world, collapsed because it was guided by an MOU, which was not grounded in law and other things. And so the different parties had a loose coalition. That did not last. By 2005, it was gone. And we've lived in the art of creating coalitions before elections, over and over. In 2007, the Orange Democratic Movement came in. It was not a party, it was a coalition of parties. ODM was not. And it was a product of the orange symbol of no against the Constitution. And then the other coalition was Party of National Unity, which Kibaki used. So, and in 2012, the exit of Kibaki, those of us who were in that space, we brought two presidential candidates, William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta, and each had their party. Uhuru Kenyatta had to discard KANU, a homegrown party, and created a more fashionable, more modern, the National Alliance, the party TNA.
TNA.
Yes. And out of ODM, there was URP. But the two were combined, it became the Jubilee. That Jubilee Alliance reigned for 10 years. At the end of 10 years, there was no more Jubilee. Those coalitions collapsed. So we've driven our politics through coalitions that do not last. And I think it is time we pivot back and we have established strong political parties where people can democratically exercise their political rights and democratic rights on day-to-day basis beyond elections. So that parties here in Kenya don't exist only for elections. After elections, they are forgotten and thrown away. A strong nation is founded. Before we get democracy at the ballot, let us have democracy at the political party level. That is where policies are incubated, generated, and adopted. Look at what has happened in the American system. When Trump, the road of Trump to get back to the White House, you could see and you could feel the policies working and being negotiated. And eventually, he won the Republican ticket at the National Convention of the Republicans. And then there was a process of the National Convention of the Democrats. Initially, we had Biden as a candidate, but through internal conversation and negotiations, it became Kamala Harris, and then the process went on. When Trump won, we've seen the sequence of transition, and the Democratic Party have swallowed their humble pie, and they've gone back, they've gone out, and the Republicans are running the show. But we know the Democrats are planning for the next 4 years, not through a coalition, but through Democratic Party. And those who believe in the policy of the Democrats, and the policy of the Democratic Party, they were not created yesterday or the other day. It has lived through the years. The same case with the Republicans, who are conservatives, Democrats, liberal, and those are two worlds apart. Then the rest are ingrained within it. So I think as a country, this probably is what we need going into the future, and it will reach a time that coalitions will not work.
Okay.
The power of the people will work.
All right.
And the merit of individuals will also carry the day. That is what happened in 2002.
Let's take a breather. Let's take a breather.
Because the incumbent and the rest of the coalition within NASA did all what they could and tried to play the trump card of the coalition and using the power of the state. But the people overturned it at the ballot.
All right.
And elected William Ruto.
All right, let's take a short break. We continue with this conversation in just a bit.
I'm sending you my pin location. Please send your boys in 45 minutes if I don't call back.
The man needs to know I'm spying on you. But that doesn't mean we're enemies. Then at least let's make it believable.
I am tired of cleaning your dirty mess each and every time, mother.
Who are you and how can I help you?
You can start by getting out of my way.
No one crosses me and gets away with it.
Give it a rest. The guy is dead.
Why do you want me to take a rest so hard?
Do you really want me to give the half SIM card to Kaikara?
Wow, nice try. I'll have Ruth drop them.
Why now?
Are you not tired?
You know when I find out you are involved katika abduction ya Alice, Mills and I will...
You will do what, Kaikara?
اسأل تفتح أبوابا اسأل وستجد جوابا أسرار الكون ستعرف.
Wakiangalia huko anakuwa ni mwenye kulia, ukiangalia huko anakuwa ni mwenye kutabasamu. Kisha kauliza ya Adam alayhi salam, kwa nini ukiangalia mkuliani kwako unakuwa ni mwenye kutabasamu? Kwa nini ukiangalia kushotoni kwako unakuwa ni mwenye kulia sana? Anasema kwa sababu nikiangalia kuliani kwangu naangalia watoto wangu waliokuwa wema.
Iwapo mja atatekeleza amri za Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala na kuhifadhi haki za Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, basi Allah atakuwa ni masikio yake ambayo yule mja atasikia nayo. Vile vile pia Allah atakuwa ni macho yake ambayo yule mja atatumia kuona.
Kuna unaloshindwa kimetanda.
Well, then, what do we do with this film?
Don't worry, I'll handle this. And I'll give you a satisfying result. Is it okay?
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
What's up?
How long do we have to be here? What is inappropriate? Even in there, I didn't sell her out.
I know hitting someone is wrong, but I didn't just hit anyone. Shui Yiming did what he did. Shouldn't he be punished? No one's punishing him now. Didn't I have to do it?
Is this your dream? You worked so hard for years. Isn't it to make your dream come true? This is not just your own business. This is our whole family's business.
Welcome back to this live broadcast. We are talking about the idea of coalitions. And Orogo, I asked Bwana Sosion a question about the purpose of forming a coalition. Now that people are window shopping for coalition,
did he answer that?
No, he didn't.
He didn't. First of all, he didn't answer that.
But I want to get your sentiment on this. But and also the idea that so far since the multipartyism since 1992, we've not had a strong enough party to form government without doing or having a coalition. Where did we go?
Well, I think we were just talking off air, and we were deliberating whether the ideals of living by the ideals of our democracy as a country, because Wakili was asking, do we really need to adopt democracy as a system of governance? And yes, because we agreed to have it. We had in our constitution the tenets of democracy means that we have a multi-party political system where everyone has a right to, form, given the political rights enshrined again in our constitution that we agree as a country to adopt. Honorable Sosion has given an account of where we came from with coalitions and parties post-independent. The only thing I think is not mentioned is that the founding fathers of our nation, the founding fathers and those who help us were in the helm of leadership after independence, also struggled with whether to adopt one-party state or a different party state. And I think at one level, Jomo Kenyatta banned multi-political party system and adopted KANU. There was no any other. There's part. What happened in Kisumu when he was shouted, and Dinga's party, and after Dinga had left KANU, and after that then there was like a semblance of one party. So what did that tell you? The discussion whether Kenya was ready to adopt a political system that is pluralism within the political parties or have one party. Again, I've had, I think one of us has just mentioned that there's a time the former president had actually struggled to, repeal Section 2A of the previous constitution to allow several political parties to contest election. So the question is, why do we not practice further our democracy with our political parties and move further to forge coalitions? I think that is what you're asking. Why are we dissatisfied? Why is multi-party system not working? Exactly. That people have to, move further and look for friends. Now it's like shopping for friends here and there. So the question is, again, the The deformities within our multi-democratic system is that the majority, the winning is for majority. That in a sense, the formation of political parties realistically is that we are still having parties in this country that are semblance of ethnic political parties. All right? And that is the reality, that the composition of those political parties, and the majority of those composes them, if you do an audit of these political parties, you will hear their party leaders are from certain regions, certain ethnicities, are from certain, previously provinces. So then that means that in winning of elections, and a constitution that, Keith is asking whether we should, adopt still democracy as a way, or look at probably monarchy or aristocracy as, as a system of governance if democracy is not working for us. These are deformities of democracy, in that majority has to win an election. So in the winning of that elections, what do political parties that have said their bases are ethnic political parties do?
Yeah.
Is to reach out. There is no coalitions. There is a conglomerate of ethnic, bigwigs forming together in the pretext of we are having political parties that are showing the interest of a nation. There is no interest of a nation in political parties. They are fulfilling of, ethnic, convergence to form what would further interest, within the Calcutta political party. So, moving forward, I think this is the reality. In future, as I conclude, we would want to aspire to have a strong political parties that are based on policy frameworks and ideals. And that's why you are mentioning Democrats versus Republicans. In the US, which there's still a problem, because now you look at the Western media are portraying Republicans, calling it Trump Republican Party. They are no longer calling it Republican Party. So it means that an embodiment of personality has assumed a whole entire system of political party. Democrats, I don't know what they are doing right now, because Ocean has said that they are healing from the loss and probably planning is a comeback, in the next election. In the US, in Britain, we're still having conservatives and Labour and other political parties as well. But in the aspirations to that, we are still recognizing that we need to take a look whether the democratic political party system is working for a nation, or just even without doing auditing, as citizens, understanding the ideals of internal party systems. Are we having political parties that can run internal party elections and nominations and all this? If not, then I think we are here to still see coalitions that are ethnic based.
Do you agree with that? And also, in terms of forming parties or coalitions, mostly what we see is coalitions or parties that seem to understand what people are going through and then speak to that. But once they get in power, things change.
Thank you so much. You see, many advanced democracies, one thing that they pride in is having ideological parties. In Kenya, our parties are not they do not have a specific ideology. The parties in Kenya are meant or are vehicles to win political seats or the presidency, no matter what it takes. That's why an enemy today would become your greatest lieutenant tomorrow. You wonder, right now the face of opposition is Rigathi Gachagua. And the same Rigathi Gachagua was there spectating and advancing the ideologies of William Samoei Ruto. Today he comes out guns blazing, opposing the same government that he helped form. And why is he doing this? He's not doing this because of anything. He's doing it because he thinks he has been unfairly treated in the party. Take, for example, right now, Kalonzo Musyoka, who was the fiercest critic of Rigathi Gachagua, right now he looks at Rigathi Gachagua as a hero, almost worshipping him. And in any forum where Rigathi is, you'll see Mudavadi. Take, for example, Eugene Wamalwa. You remember the famous billboard and who were behind it. I don't know what to want to mention. The same people who voted in Rigathi Gachagua out of the deputy presidency are some of the guys who are calling him a hero, telling him to tell the president the truth. That tells you that we still miss it. Any coalition without the people is as done in its beginning. Why? Because every party should have a strategic plan. What do we want to achieve in terms of the vision, in terms of the developments? Then you come up with an organogram. Who can handle what? When we come, for example, the bottom-up economy, which was an ideology that was brought up by William Samoei Ruto, it's a bottom-up economy. Who can handle what ministry, who can handle what department, so that when the government is formed, you are able to get these individuals to deliver on that. But here we talk of a situation where those who are opposed to the bottom-up are now at the center of the implementation of the same bottom-up. The likes of Mbadi, Oparanya, and Joho. And you wonder, the same people who actually had vehemently opposed this model are the same people who are now defending this government. Sometimes I wonder, where are other ministers? Because the face of the government have been reduced to Mbadi, Oparanya, Joho. And there were some ministers who were there actually before they came in. So that tells you these coalitions are basically taking us back to the fears that we have always had as electorates. Let me give you a very good example. There is a mention of those who are likely to contest for presidency. One of them has been endorsed by their political party. That is Matiang'i. Looking at Matiang'i and his track record, there are those that he perfectly did well, but he is one individual who is guilty of human rights, gross human rights violation. During his time, you saw how protesters were dealt with. In fact, calling Matiang'i in itself was a scare to very many of us, especially those who come from Nyanza. During post-election demonstrations, we have so many. In fact, if you told me, and this is just my personal opinion, if you told me you want to replace William Ruto and you call him a tyrant, an individual who does not respect the rule of law, and then you want to replace him with Matiang'i, then I just look at you with a lot of sympathy. And that is where we all are so much excited about bringing in individuals just for purposes of winning elections. Look at Rigathi Gachagua, for example. And right now the entire mountain agrees with Rigathi Gachagua. They agree that Rigathi Gachagua is their spokesperson. Just the other day, they were saying Uhuru Kenyatta is the undisputed spokesperson. But there was a slight handshake between William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua. It just became now Rigathi Gachagua. It's very important to note, Migwi, that everyone wants to be in government. And that is the truth here. Everyone wants to be in government. It's not about ideology. It's not about what they will deliver. They just want to be in parliament and become whoever they want to be. And that can never cure any problems that we face as a country. We will form those coalitions. Just the last thing, in not NASA, Azimio, there were so many principles, and I was wondering how these principles will, because there were so many principles everywhere. There was a Eugene Wamalwa principle, there was Natembeya, there was Ali Roba, so many principles who had come together to form the coalition. And eventually what happened? Any coalition without the people, without the fabric of this country, without the voting patterns being changed, is just but a vehicle to win the presidency, and we go back to the same problems. We need to cure our problems.
So the coalition, Wakili Kithi, based on what he has said, the coalitions forming within the country, they are not, the major idea is not to offer alternative leadership. The idea is to get into power.
Yes, you're right. You see, the fall of democracy is that it has two follies. One is it portends that society is ideal. It has the basic ideals. The society is literate enough to be able to discern. And that's within the general side. It also portends that we're able to divide and converge. You see, democracy says, and that's what we practice, that after every cycle of 5 years, for us, others is 4 years, others 7 years, we go into elections. When you go into election, we are supposed to conduct the election within the concept of bias, so that we vote for so and so and not vote for so and so. The one that gets the highest number of biases in terms of votes then becomes the winner for whatever it is, if it's MCA or president, whatever position that we've created. Now, that is a problem. On paper, it looks good, but the practical and factual sense of it is this, that you then divide society over time. 5 years, you divide yourself, and then you converge again purposely for purpose of driving agenda of development and so on and so forth. But that is disruptive. What it does is that it encourages divisions and fissures within society. And the fissures are uncharted, the fissures are unlimited, the fissures are not written anywhere. For instance, our immediate fissure for purposes of bias in an election is ethnicity. It's the dominant one. Others is clanism. For others, it's religion. For others, it could be literacy versus others, could be class. For instance, those that have and those that do not have. So within our context, the one that dominates as the societal fissure that biases us in an election is ethnicity. So we vote within the context of ethnicity, and therefore any electoral process, including the formation of political parties, take the face of ethnicity as a mobilization fissure element for purposes of driving us into the ultimate, which is leadership and the crown of the society, which is presidency. Now, fast forward is you walk into that place, that space of presidency and the position you take, having been a derivative of the societal fissure of ethnicity. Therefore you dominate in your decision making to mirror ethnicity. And therefore when you become president, if you are a Kikuyu, then many of those that will surround will be Kikuyus because of the ethnic factor that comes with it when you come into power. And if you're a Kalenjin, there'll be many Kalenjins in government, and there'll be protests here and there because you have dominated that. And that continues more and more, and that becomes the folly of democracy. The second folly of democracy is that decision-making process is not through a vote system, but through a majoritarian process. So when we put people, because there was a majoritarian element into it, there were many and they were put there, it means they continue to dominate, to conquer and dominate over society for a period prescribed such as 5 years. The decisions they make, those majoritarians who will be ethnically biased in the sum of them, meaning the many of them will be of a certain background because they've been put there by a system which is adulterated by ethnicity. Eventually, therefore, you see the ethnic biases forming within the context of decision-making in society and in running the government. Fast forward, therefore, the folly of democracy is that it cannot unite society. It, in fact, encourages division. And whatever is dominant, such as ethnicity, continues to the principle upon which decisions are making. So, why then coalitions? And I'm coming to that, as you asked. It means, therefore, there are fiefdoms of ethnicity, ethnic-based fiefdoms within society. So when you want the coastals, they form their party. When you want the Kambas, they have a dominant party called Wiper, and the Luos will be ODM, and the Mlima will have their own, and so on and so forth. Of course, there'll be sub-parties here and there, which really, there were Jacoyas and these parties, I mean, they'll be there. But there'll be the dominant ethnic parties that will form around that, with personalities called chieftains, the tribal chieftains, that symbolize probably the dominance of the personality, the personal dominance of those people. Because in politics, the principle is to conquer and dominate over the populace. So when you want to form government and the process is majoritarian, you pick this party from the coast, from Nyanza, from Western, and put together a movement that will have the numbers so that you gain the majority. Eventually, therefore, you win. And therefore, it's a temporary solution to a permanent problem. The temporary solution being bringing many people together within the ethnic formations so that then you have a coalition towards forming, towards gaining the majority of votes, or majority of biases, I've called them in called votes otherwise. Then you form government. When you do that, you form ethnic groups having been put together. So eventually you've not united the country. You have simply brought yourself into the space of presidency using ethnic formation. What happens? Then you make decisions. Fast forward, because it is now you've been propelled and you live within that space. You make ethnic-based decisions.
Yes.
And let me tell you something.
Okay.
Those ethnic groups come there with interests, expectation. Yes. And please don't move me there. Let me say what exactly happens.
Okay.
We were in a party called Pamoja African Alliance. Yes. And when we went to Azimio first, there were ethnic groups there with political parties, ethnic groups with political parties. And we said KPA is from the coast. We want our interests safeguarded. Land issue at the coast. And then what do we get in government? You get this, you get this, you get this, appears and wherever. Then you move there and you run to Kenya Kwanza and you listen and you say you will get a speaker. And then you weigh a speaker and this. So you say a speaker will be probably the second or third most powerful person. And you say this is what we want. And you run there and ethnically you sign a contract called a pre-election agreement. So it's all adulterated by ethnicity. Yes. We can call it whatever we want. So let me tell you, we were better off. We were better off. I'll speak for myself. I think we were better off before we became Kenyans. Yes, we are Kenyans because we were told to be Kenyans by some Muzungu somewhere, some geographical convenience. Okay. Otherwise, I think we did well managing ourselves ethnically than we are now when we are called Kenyans competing with other
even as we talk about coalitions, there's also the question of what are you bringing to the table in 1 minute.
Yeah, I think we've discussed this matter very extensively, and we don't need to live in frustrations over the events that have taken place.
Yeah.
From here, what do we do going into the future? What do we bring to the table as Kenyans so that we can progress our democracy? That should be the big question. And what leadership do we offer so that we can either promptly cure this or gradually cure, if we may not be able to deal with it very effectively.
Or grab the leadership.
Very effectively. Regardless of election. You know, we look at election and election is everything. At the end of every election, then we plan for the other election. And we plan for a coalition. And we try to weave together some policies and weave together some leaders whose positions keep changing from season to season. The ideologies of a politician in this season is different in the next season because of circumstances. Yes. And that is deceit on the people. To me, if I take, for example, Kenya Kwanza administration and William Ruto and philosophy from the UDA, he was able to weave UDA within a very short time. It was the most national party.
Please speak the truth.
Now I'm speaking the truth. I'm speaking what I know.
Okay.
I'm speaking what I know.
Yes, you're right. Remember? What you know, you know.
What I know, you can dispute to say yours. And the big idea, remember, the Jubilee Party
in 1 minute
was a merge of
in 1 minute.
URP and the other one. And actually they dissolved and formed a party, right? But because of disagreement, then came UDA. Now we have the Kenya Kwanza coalition, and dominantly UDA is a bigger party. It is in power. It has the responsibility to now correct, ahead of any other political party, the mistakes of the past. It has the responsibility to negotiate with the affiliate parties. ANC have dissolved and marched with UDA, structurally and in many ways. PA is a big beneficiary, and several others. It is possible to engage in this process of negotiation because the law allows. It is like in the trade union aspect. There is also splinterism and amalgamation, and it is allowed in law. Why do people amalgamate? They amalgamate because they want to
get power,
mainstream their issues for the good of the country. Others amalgamate because they want to get power. Can we now be able to get amalgamation of political parties and reconfiguration of policies, and also de-ethnicizing political parties, so that then we integrate the country? It is possible. We unite the country. It is a very hard sell. It is a hard sell, and those who are holding some political parties for briefcase reasons will find it very difficult to dissolve.
Okay, I want to give you.
This is our party for our ethnic.
Yes,
I think
I want to get
the painful route.
Which is justified.
The painful route is the amalgamation of political parties, merging,
so that an ethnic group can be dominant of others. If you amalgamate,
that is
no.
Why?
Amalgamation, you have a national political parties with policies and which can last the test of time.
No, which can oppress others.
Which can outlast you, can outlast me.
Gentlemen,
I want individuals, can outlast ethnic formations. But they become national.
I want to end this conversation here because we are running out of time, and give you each some time to give your submissions.
I was just concluding mine, because that's why.
And I'll take that as your conclusion.
Yes, it's my conclusion. That's why I said Association should speak the truth, because I knew where we were going with that.
Okay, that's the conclusion.
We just a minute. That we at a level where we need to begin to take political responsibility.
Yes,
and I think this is very important. That we are realizing that citizens are left within these particular processes where political oligarchs are, negotiating. When Gachagua stood up and said that Amason Kingi did not negotiate for the entire community but himself, so what does the citizens do at that particular extent? And Wakili has just confirmed, the statement here about this political negotiation. That's what I'm saying is, where do we leave the citizens in their participation?
Okay.
I looked at the sentiments that came from what was it when Rigathi visited the office, DAP. That was the launch.
DPK.
The statements that he made cannot just be let that way, because I think a person who was the second most prominent person in the country wakes up and say that I was sent by the president to declare the issue of shares, and people clap and do acclamation, and then he gets away with it. There are certain statements that are made with regards to national security, and people get away with it.
Okay.
We are still looking at issues around abduction. Nothing has been done. People get away with it. So exactly what are you pacifying the country to a level where people are going to feel helpless because you are trying to do politics of convenience? I think that is where we are losing.
Gentlemen, naambio tutanyolewa out of
Please give the
30 seconds. Kipi.
I think ethnicity is grounded, and it's nothing wrong with it. Pursuit of ethnicity as a first stop towards the national platform, I think is justified. The other bit is I feel Kenyans feel more ethnic than national.
Okay.
That's the other bit. But I want also to weigh in very fast that Rigathi Gachagua, having been in that office and now saying what he's saying, in law is giving what is called direct evidence as opposed to circumstantial. Circumstantial evidence is the speculation we make of what is going on. Direct evidence is what is said by the mouth.
Okay.
So what he's giving us is direct evidence is admissible in law.
Wasaga.
Thank you so much. Coalitions are very good.
And therefore,
and it's the truth.
Yeah, Wasaga, let Wasaga
coalitions are very
submission.
good, provided that we have a strategic plan for this country in those coalitions, so that when we get to power, we are able to put the right people at the right places. Then that will cure most of the problems we have. Of course, the rule of law must be respected at all costs, because everyone, including the president, is bound and must respect the Constitution and the national values under Article 10 of the Constitution.
All right, gentlemen, we'll end this matter at that. And thank you so much for making time. That is Wakili George Kithi, an advocate of the High Court, and also Wakili Peter Wasaga, an advocate of the High Court, and also Daniel Orogo, who is a politics and governance expert, and Honorable Wilson Association, former nominated MP, joining us here on Good Morning Kenya. This is where we end this segment. My name is Mike Megu, and thank you for tuning in. Vivian Ndegwa is up next. Good morning.
Wellness is important in our daily lives so that instead of just surviving, we should be thriving.
Ways to prevent a stroke or heart attack is for you to know what conditions you have. By regular checkup, people don't know they have hypertension, they don't know they have diabetes.
I was pre-diabetic. I was afraid of getting lifestyle diseases because I come from a family that has lifestyle diseases.
How do you know if your cough is due to a serious condition? We'll have some answers. Stay well
and strive to make every day a healthy day.
Well, then, what do we do with this film?
Don't worry, I'll handle this. And I'll give you a satisfying result. Is it okay?
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
What's up?
How long do we have to be here? What is inappropriate? Even in there, I didn't sell her out.
I know hitting someone is wrong, but I didn't just hit anyone. Shui Ming did what he did. Shouldn't he be punished? No one's punishing him now. Didn't I have to do it?
Is it this your dream? You worked so hard for years. Isn't it to make your dream come true? This is not just your own business. This is our whole family's business.
اسأل تفتح أبوابا اسأل وستجد جوابا أسرار الكون ستعرف.
Wakiangalia huko anakuwa ni mwenye kulia, akiangalia huko anakuwa ni mwenye kutabasamu. Kisha kauliza ya Adam alayhi salam, kwa nini ukiangalia mkuliani kwako unakuwa ni mwenye kutabasamu? Kwa nini ukiangalia kushotoni kwako unakuwa ni mwenye kulia sana? Anasema kwa sababu nikiangalia kuliani kwangu naangalia watoto wangu waliokuwa wema.
Iwapo mja atatekeleza amri za Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala na kuhifadhi haki za Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, basi Allah atakuwa ni masikio yake ambayo yule mja atasikia nayo. Vile vile pia Allah atakuwa ni macho yake ambayo yule mja atatumia kuona.
Siwaski. That was caught off guard right there.
Yes, and Good Morning Kenya gets to continue. We get into a different conversation right now, and we will be talking about the multi-currency card by KCB. And with me is one Mr. Johnson Ondicho, who is the KCB Bank Kenya Head of Digital Channels. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Vivian. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show as well. Let's begin by us just talking about, you explaining to us what the multi-currency card is.
Thank you very much. Of course, coming after very heated debate on the political side, we tone it down now and talk about money.
Yes, let's talk about money.
In a digital way.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited again to be here just to explain this unique, first of its kind in the country, the multi-currency prepaid card. And I want to really make it very simple in this discussion to understand why a multi-currency prepaid card. First of all, when we talk about a multi-currency prepaid card, with 11 wallets. Wallets are basically just a store value. We are carrying money in different wallets, different stores of value, just to make it very simple. So today, if I will just give it with I will explain it on a situational point of view. Today, you want to travel out of this country. You're going probably to Australia. So you'll start thinking about how do I go and change the currency. First of all, you have Kenya shillings. And how do I get to Australia and get Australian dollars? So the first thing you'll do, you'll actually convert it to US dollars. That's the first thing most people do. Once you convert it to US dollars, then you get to the airport. And the first thing you start looking around is to look for exchange bureau.
Exactly.
To change into Australian dollar. Look at that experience. Look at the crankiness of that experience that you've been able to go through. Now, this is what we are trying to solve. Today, our customers are going to China for trade.
Yeah.
They have to either carry US dollars, then when they get to China, they again convert it to Chinese yuan. So that experience is what we are trying to resolve. That carrying of cash, the inconvenience of carrying cash is what we're trying to resolve. The foreign currency unpredictability and the cost of that exchange on every point of different is what we are trying to resolve. What you are telling, with one card, you are able to determine your exchange rate before you leave the country, whatever country you go.
So it's a card that can transact in 11 currencies.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we have one card, you carry 11 currencies, depending on your destination. So we are giving you all those options. And with partnership with MasterCard, we give you the global acceptance. That means you can even pay with that card wherever you go in the world with those 11 currencies.
That's an interesting one.
Very
and as
interesting.
you say, it's the first of its kind in Kenya.
Exactly.
You're right. It can carry 11 support rather. It can support 11 currencies. So if you can just mention some of these currencies.
So, of course, the first one is Kenyan shillings. It has a wallet for Kenya shillings, the USD, the sterling pound. We're talking about, I've mentioned already, Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. We are talking about Japanese yen. We are talking about Chinese yuan. We're talking about Swiss franc in that country. So we have tried to really cover major currencies. And I don't think I've forgotten any. And it is not the end. We are saying we'll still continue growing these currencies, especially including the East African, including the UAE, dirham, as we continue to go. For now, we started with the major currencies where we look at our customers' destination. For example, Australia, we see a lot of parents now taking their children for education in Australia. We've sorted them. We see a lot of traders going to China. We've sorted. Actually, it is the first card with the Chinese yuan. Yes, very interesting.
All right. So maybe what challenges would you say this card is sorting? You know, how is it sorting that global spender?
Good. That's a very good question. So the first thing that this card is sorting is that unpredictability of the foreign exchange. you know, FX is always volatile. You don't know what tomorrow will be.
Yeah.
There is that always unpredictability around the FX. So what we are saying today, once you go to our KCB branch, or you're loading through M-Pesa, actually this card you load on M-Pesa, we're telling you, you're sure of that day exchange rate, and you're going to maintain it across your travel. Instead, when you get to different countries, different spend, every day there is a new rate. Now, number two, we are talking about when you travel, when you purchase from your card, there is a fee that is levied by your bank mostly to cover for that FX volatility. So to cushion that FX volatility, there is always a fee, a commission that is added over and above your exchange rate. And this is what you're telling you. Now you're able to take control of those kind of fees. You're coming from home, you're sure this is what I'm going to incur in my FX, and that is it across your travel.
Yeah.
So that is one thing we are trying to resolve. Another thing, we are reducing the number of cards you're going to carry. Today, if you want to go to all those destinations, you have to carry probably all those cards, if they are available. Today, we are telling you with one card you are able. And finally, cash. Most people also carry cash. You know, cash is not safe.
Yeah.
It is insecure. We are resolving all those problems.
Who's your target audience?
So our target audience are diverse Kenyans. So, you know, we are doing a lot of tourism. Kenyans actually are tourists. They go to the world.
Yeah.
Another target audience is the students who are going for further studies abroad. Athletes, we have quite a number of athletes. They are our runners, our rugby team now going to the next circuit is in Australia. These are the people we are targeting. Traders across the world. Those are the people, again, corporates are traveling every time. So we are telling them, we are giving you a solution that is actually predictable in terms of fuel spend when you go to outside the country. And just create convenience and security around your payment access to the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
As we mentioned since we began, you know, it's a first of its kind.
Yes.
You know, supporting 11 currencies. Why this innovation? And when was this, you know, when did this begin? When was it innovated? Let me use the word innovated.
Thank you. First of all, innovation comes from a need. So there was a need in the market. We observed, our customers requested us, how can you make our experience when we travel seamless, convenient, and safe? So it came from a need, a request from a customer, and we listened to this. So this is how we ended up just thinking about what is this we can provide in one place, one-stop shop, in a convenient way, how easy to manage. Because just to mention also, this card actually has a companion portal whereby you're able to log in and be able to see all your spend. So you are able even to track your spending wherever you are in the world. Also, for the parents, I think this is very, very, very exciting also.
Yeah.
When you give your child that card when they travel to the university, for example, to Australia, every spend, actually, if you want to monitor, you're able to get SMS back home, wherever they are spending. You're able to actually access the portal and able to see, if you want to see how they are spending. So you can take even control of what you're doing for your student and for yourself. So it's also create that peace of mind to the parent and the able. And with the convenience of loading with M-Pesa, for example, anytime, and you're able to just monitor it from that portal, it makes great. So in terms of innovation, this is something we just launched last week. It has been in the cooking for some time, and we launched it last week, Thursday, in conjunction with MasterCard, one of our partners that will be able to do this together.
So it's just 1 week old.
Yes,
so
it's
far.
actually fresh from the kitchen.
Yeah.
And that's why we are here telling Kenyans, now walking into any KCB branch and apply for your multi-currency card that has 11 wallets, and you get the convenience of travel.
How does that application look like? Say I want to go apply for the multi-currency card. Where do I start and how does it look like? How does that process look like?
So we've made it very simple. First of all, you can actually request the card from our website, www.kcbgroup.com. You can go there, select card. Once you select card, you'll be you'll go and find the multi-currency prepaid card icon where you'll click. Then it will ask you to register yourself. Just your name, your ID, and your phone number. Then once you enter into the portal, you'll find, if you don't have the card already, you'll find request a card icon. You'll click on the request a card. It will take you through a simple registration process. Then it will ask you which branch would you want to pick your card from. So then you'll mention KCB is everywhere. We have over 210 branches. Very convenient for you to collect your card. Then you'll select your card, your branch, and then you'll find it in 2 days, you'll find it there. Also, you can actually walk into KCB, any KCB branch, and you'll be able to get your card. In a very simple process, just carry your ID and your PIN certificate. That's all we need for you to prepare to have this card.
Okay. How easy is it to load funds on the card? I know you've mentioned you can load through M-Pesa. How else can one load funds into the card?
So how you can load your card, you can load from your KCB iBank. If you're a customer already for KCB, you can load in from your cashier at any of the branch. And most exciting part is you can load with M-Pesa. So once you register in that portal, and you've picked your card will be available in your portal always, whereby you can be able to move the currencies within your by yourself, and also load through an SDK push. You just put your number, then you get your PIN on your M-Pesa, then you're able to load your card. Then once you load your wallet, probably Kenya shillings, then you'll go to your portal. Then you'll be able to move your currency depending on where you want it to be, Australia, dollar, wherever you want to which currency you want to use. So it's a very easy process, and it's very easy also to manage the card.
Yeah. Just take me through, or just enlighten me on the withdrawal now, when you want to withdraw your cash.
Yeah. So again, wherever you go in the world, you can go to any ATM. If you need now to convert
any ATM.
Any ATM in the world is MasterCard branded. That is what I was mentioning about global reach through our partner, that is MasterCard. So anywhere in the world you want cash, you will just go to any ATM in the world and you're able to withdraw. Locally, again, any KCB ATM card, we have over 800 points where you can be able to withdraw card. Just at 30 shillings plus excess duty, that's it, that you're able. We have the daily limits, and conveniently you can be able to get your cash out of the wallet. And just to mention a very exciting use case that has been there. Also, there are so many people doing e-commerce, online shopping, online payment, Netflix, content on demand. This is also a very good card for your recurrent payment. There are many people who want to buy things online on different currency. So it's a very, very exciting time for them because they want to use the same currency as where they are buying their stuff. Also, I wanted to mention that.
All right, and on that note also, that brings me to my next question on just how secure is this card?
Yeah. So the security around card is something that has been able to be built over time. So first of all, this card is chip and pin for your physical payment, what we call face-to-face. So you'll put your card and pin. You're able to secure it through a pin. On e-commerce, we have something called 3D. 3D is where we send you one-time pin to your phone number that you registered for you to be able to use that token or one-time pin or that code you send on the website you're using. So there is two-factor authentication around this. And then remember, it's an EMV compliant. In terms of just being schemed, it's not possible because we are doing a very dynamic security process that is able to secure your card. And over and above, even there is more complex security around it, like, for example, tokenization. This is where we generate very random things. I don't want to be complicated, very random numbers that is not able to be croned. And it's very extremely secure. And most important, every message of purchase comes to your phone, on your phone. So you're able to monitor and just know what is happening around your card.
So the right measures have been taken to
Everything
ensure
has
that
been- yes,
you
it's
know
the
your
same.
money is secure.
I mean, compared to cash, this is the most safest way. And today, anywhere you go in the world, you're able to pay card. You don't need to carry cash. And remember, paying with a card is free. Today is free.
Yeah.
Wherever you go to a card on a POS, on e-commerce, there are no charges. Now with multi-currency, even you're saving on the FX losses and fees. So it is actually very cheap and convenient for you to use this card. Yes.
What is the validity period of the card?
So the validity period of a card is 5 years without seeing a bank. It's quite a long period for you to be able to have that card. So we're talking about 5 years. Yes.
Is there a mobile app to manage the card? Probably
Yes.
because now, you know, we are in that era where,
Exactly.
you know, the phone is like our daily life. So we have the KCB app, yes?
Yes, we have the KCB app.
Yeah.
And for those who don't have KCB app, just on your phone, go to KCB website, access your icon for card, the one I already talked, the mobile portal. Just click on your card, prepaid card, multi-currency, and you'll find everything that you need to manage your card. Just on your phone, on the KCB website, you're able to manage that card and end to end without being even KCB customer. So you're going to be able to manage that card end to end from that portal.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Are there any limitations?
So the limitation are the usual limits in terms of how much per day just to secure the customer. And how much you can transact per day. Those are all security features that we put around, and of course AML, anti-money laundering a structure that takes place. But basically we don't have any limit outside to restrict, but over and above under the frameworks of AML and just the security feature, the amounts we are talking about, you can be able to probably withdraw up to 40,000 one transaction. You know why we do that? Just in case you're able to take control in case something happened. And then other security feature I wanted to mention also, you can report that card and block yourself from the portal in case it gets lost. Yes. So limitation, we can do exceptional on the amounts, sometimes the amount beyond AML, you know, Kenya, anything above 1 million, you have to do documentation. Anything above that, we are able to facilitate. But anything we below 1 million, you can be able to transact freely and anywhere without any restriction.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I want you to take us through like a step by step, just step by step on the conversion, maybe for someone who's watching and they really don't understand how this works. So say you're using Australia a lot. So
because of the many students, because it's a very popular destination for students.
So say you're in Australia, you've been there as a student, now you want to come back to the country. How does that conversion happen, you know, through the card? Just elaborate it further.
So I will start from the end and then the reverse. So you've gotten your card, you've gone to the portal, you've registered the portal. So on the portal you'll get load card. So once you click load card, it will give you two options. If you're a KCB customer, you load from your account. If you're not a KCB customer, you have the second option, load from M-Pesa. So you'll click M-Pesa, you'll put your number there, then you'll get STK push, just to put your PIN. Of course, with the amount, then you are able to fund the KS wallet. So you'll have money, because M-Pesa to the wallet, first of all, we settle at the KS. Then once the money is the KS, you have now transfer, the icon on the same portal, transfer fund to different wallets. So you'll click, of course your primary wallet is Kenya shillings, you'll click and it will give you a drop down and you select which currency you want, now Australian dollar. So you'll click there and then say what amount you want to transfer, and it's simple as that, you transfer. Now getting back to the country, you want to get the money back, probably you didn't utilize all the funds, you'll click transfer from your Australian dollar wallet and back to your Kenya shillings, then convert it back, either through an ATM or back to your bank account.
Now, sorry, with that, with that laid down, maybe what are the benefits in terms of exchange rates, in terms of, the conversion costs, just what is that saving me from? Now,
you've already mentioned, first of all, security of carrying cash, the convenience of just the uncertainty of when you travel. We remove that uncertainty. When you travel, you have cash. You go to a forex bureau. First of all, you don't know even what is the exchange. Am I being conned? Is this currency real? That uncertainty of just travel is settled.
Yeah.
For me, that's the most important thing. For those who have traveled will bear witness. It's a very nervous moment when you arrive at the airport. You don't know what to do next. I need to pay for, probably, I don't have internet. I need to pay for Uber, cash. What do I do? That is a very nervous process. And then you'll see all this bureau, and some countries you'll even find people standing at the airport with real hard cash. You don't know even how much you need to get. That uncertainty for me is where we are resolving. And we are saying, you go, it's convenient, you're safe, and there's peace of mind whenever you land in any country where we are supporting the currencies. For me, that is the biggest. And I mean, safety, you cannot take a card is safe. It is cost effective for us. It's the most important thing we are resolving right now. Yes.
Are there any hidden charges? I'm sure someone is asking themselves. It seems too good to be true. So maybe are there any hidden charges? Are there charges that one should know about?
So first of all, I mentioned paying with a card is free. And this is what I need to tell Kenyans.
Yeah.
Paying with a card is free. There is no charges.
Yeah.
Transferring money from your KS to any of your wallet is actually free. Another thing Kenyans need to know, you can actually negotiate for your foreign currency. When you come to our branches, you have your Kenya shillings, you want to convert, then deposit, you can actually negotiate for a rate. That gives you an opportunity to take control of that. For me, those are the most important thing. In terms of charges, I've already mentioned is the ATM withdrawal. That's all you're going to incur when you're removing your money, which is $200 outside, $2 outside this country, $2, and 30 shillings plus excess duty when you're in country, especially on KCB ATM. So those are the only charges that you're having. Because I always tell people, today if you carry your Kenya shilling card, your debit card, your credit card, Kenya shilling, there is a charge on it to cushion the FX volatility for most banks. So they always mark it up to be able to cushion. Because remember, the settlement of a card happens the next day. So the card settlement, I'm trying to make it simple, is settled the next day. So to cushion the next day, we don't know what will happen in the foreign currency. Most people who issue cards, most banks, they'll always have a markup or a commission charge to be able to cover for them for the FX volatility. This is what we are eliminating. We've removed by you just taking control of this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Probably your parting shot, your last remarks.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vivian. That was a good conversation.
Sure.
I believe I've been able to articulate this great opportunity for Kenyans, especially those who are traveling. Don't stress anymore. Walk into your KCB, pick up your multi-currency credit card, load it, and travel and have peace of mind. Anywhere in the world, we are with MasterCard, we are able to facilitate that payment. Thank you very much.
All right, this seems like a really, really good innovation. You know, it would save a lot. I agree with you on that for sure. Thank you so much for joining us and for shedding light on this.
Thank you.
This is where we end this particular conversation. I was joined by Mr. Johnson Ondicho. He is KCB Bank Kenya Head of Digital Channels. Don't you go too far. I'll be back with a different conversation. Today is Wednesday, so we'll be having women at the forefront. But before we get to that, weather updates.
ni kuvuka mpaka.
Nitavuka hadi boda.
Buni, makinika.
Kwa jua au kwa mvua, tusitafutane.
Utalaumiwa wewe.
Mimi siogopi lawama.
Ondoka wewe. Ondoa marondo yako hapa.
Ukweli upi?
Kalume amekuja kuniambia mimba ulionayo ni yake.
Nini?
Ningependa turudi kama ilivyokuwa zamani. Tushirikiane.
Kwa lipi?
Uoni madui zangu wanatumia huko kutengana kwetu kuniangusha mimi.
اسأل تفتح أبوابا اسأل وستجد جوابا أسرار الكون ستعرف.
Wakiangalia huko anakuwa ni mwenye kulia, akiangalia huko anakuwa ni mwenye kutabasamu. Kisha kauliza ya Adam alayhi salam, kwa nini ukiangalia mkuliani kwako unakuwa ni mwenye kutabasamu? Kwa nini ukiangalia kushotoni kwako unakuwa ni mwenye kulia sana? Anasema kwa sababu nikiangalia kuliani kwangu naangalia watoto wangu waliokuwa wema.
Iwapo mja atatekeleza amri za Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala na kuhifadhi haki za Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, basi Allah atakuwa ni masikio yake ambayo yule mja atasikia nayo. Vile vile pia Allah atakuwa ni macho yake ambayo yule mja atatumia kuona.
Kuna unaloshindwa kimetanda.
In a world where temperatures soar and ecosystems falter, the most vulnerable bear the brunt. Among them, women and children who face perilous journey through the changing climate. The main cause of climate change is burning fossil fuels such as coal, oil and gas to produce energy, along with other human activities like cutting down forests and farming. This release sees heat-trapping pollution called greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, warming the planet and destabilizing the climate, especially in the arid and semi-arid areas across the country. The climate change in these areas has significant impacts on both women and children, and some of the effects in children include health risks such as severe droughts, floods, and air pollution, which expose children to malnutrition and diseases. Children often lack access to essential services like clean water, sanitation, and healthcare, and as climate change disrupts ecosystems, children are growing up in an increasingly hazardous world, threatening their health, nutrition, education, and overall development. Inconsistency in climate change has also resulted to major setbacks when it comes to women. For instance, health vulnerability, where pregnant women face extreme catastrophes like exacerbating risks related to maternal and child health. Severe climate changes also affect women's menstrual cycle, which may lead to stress and health concerns. Despite these climate change drawbacks, there are several solutions to protect women and children in the semi-arid and arid areas from the intense impacts of climate change, like developing and implementing policies that consider gender-specific vulnerabilities and needs. Promoting climate change literacy in schools and communities to help empower women to make informed decisions is another step to help protect women and children from severe climate change impacts. The government has put in measures to transition to clean energy sources to reduce air pollution and mitigate climate change, as well as improve access to clean water and sanitation facilities to help curb the issue of water scarcity and poor sanitation during climate changes. This will help promote both women and children well-being. Remember, change can only begin with you and me.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is Good Morning Kenya. My name is Vivian Degwa, and now we get into Women at the Forefront, which is a segment that we just get to highlight women who are doing something commendable, women who are doing something for their communities, and so on. And today I have with me Prophet Ruth Boyce, and she is the CEO Last Call Ministries. Prophet Ruth has a program that supports widows and orphans as well, and she'll be telling us more about that. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite. I really appreciate all this.
All right, so if we can just start by getting a backstory of just who exactly Prophet Ruth is, and why you're in Kenya and how you got to Kenya.
Okay, so I about almost 7 years ago now, June will be 7 years for me, I was sent here by the Lord to give the message of the rapture to Kenya, to Africa, and all around the world. That was that was what the Lord told me to do. So I was anointed by the Lord, and He taught me and trained me for quite some time about the rapture and about what was coming for the church and how the church needed to be ready. So He sent me at that time to come and give that message. And so almost 7 years ago now, I came and I met a gentleman named Bishop Peter Simiu, and we've been working together. I came with my husband and my daughter and myself 7 years ago this June. But my husband died a year and a half ago here, so that was really tough. But now we walk together, and I have my team, and we go and we preach the gospel and get the word out to people and try to help people as much as we're able to. Yeah, we try to do whatever we can.
Yeah. All right, I get that now. Just what exactly would you say inspired you or prompted you to start working with the community? Because, you know, with this program that you have of where you support widows and orphaned children, just what got you into it?
Wow, I think that anybody with the love of Jesus, when you see something like that, it breaks your heart, because there's everybody. I live in the village of Nyangali, and it's there in Bungoma County, and there's just an incredible need of people in the village, and every time you see them, it breaks your heart. And when you have that compassion for people, it's not good to ignore that compassion. It hardens your heart and puts you in a place where that you're not in a good standing with the Lord. So I help them because my heart desires to help them, and I love them. I see the children, and you see them without so much, and the people come begging, and they need help with food and help with their babies and help with clothing, and there's just so much that they need on a daily basis. So my ministry is small, and I don't have a lot of money. I don't even have a job. I just have some small retirement, and so I get what I can, and I help where I'm able. But we're able to make quite a bit of difference with quite a few people.
So tell me about this initiative. Like, who, how exactly did it start? You've told us, the backstory on what inspired you, what prompted you to get to do that. But just who exactly, do you work with? Do you work with the people around, the widows around, the orphaned children around? Do you also reach out for, people outside the community you're in right now? Just tell us more about that.
Okay, for me, what I do, because I don't have a lot of money, I help the community where I'm at, the area where I'm at. I have a church down the road where I'm at, and then we have another church that's about a half hour away. And so within those areas, those villages, within a few miles of each other, we've helped quite a few people. Even people that lose their shops, people steal on them, and people that are within the community. And if we have the monies, we have helped to rebuild the shops. We've helped to give them back supplies. We've helped people in the hospitals. We've helped so many people.
Yeah.
And it's within that area that I'm at. We don't have the finances right now to be able to reach out and help everybody everywhere. But if somebody comes and says that they need help, we do our best to see what we can do. So,
what would you say are some of the most pressing needs around the area?
Around our area now, there's no good water ever. People are always sick with typhoid continuously, and it's very difficult because when you're in the village, you see these things happening, but when you go into the town says, no, there's no typhoid in Kenya anymore. But I had to tell the hospital, I said, you guys need to go into the village. You need to see what it's like in the village, because people are suffering all the time. People are dying from typhoid. And me, myself, I've had malaria and typhoid so many times you can't count. And it can make you very, very sick. So typhoid is a real big problem with the people. There's no good water where we are. And we bought a government line. The ministry paid for a government line to have the water come in, because people, when there's a dry season, people can't get that water. So we put in a government line, but the government line is the worst water we've had. It's so bad. It's so full of so many micro germs and plant life and other things. We've had it tested, and it's in real bad shape. So we use it for washing. We use it for doing our clothes, but we've been buying our water as much as we can, but we can't buy it for the village. So it's very expensive to buy it for the village. So I would say the water is one of the #1 things. Electricity, we just got that one not 2 years ago, maybe, where we are, but around the area, there's no electricity in most places. People can't afford it, so they live, very poorly. And food for people. We've had some illegal activity happen in our area, and because of it, they've taken a lot of jobs away from our neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods where we are. So the people are starving even more now than they ever were. They're not able to go and get these jobs themselves. They're not able to go and sell rock like they used to sell, because that was their livelihood. That's what they did. And these jobs, there's just so much illegal activity there, and it's a real problem in our area. So clothes, everything, medical, you name it, there's a real problem in that area. Yeah.
Maybe one would ask, why leave, you're from America, why leave America, where sometimes it's considered like it's the dream, dream destination for many people. They call it the American dream, in quotes. One would ask, why leave that, come to Kenya and go to an interior place?
Again, it was the calling. I've been a Christian all my life. I'm 62 this next month. And I've been a Christian since I was 5, and I've been in love with the Lord. And when you're in love with God, you just have a compassion for people. And you go where God says go, and you do what God says do. And this is why I'm here. And I loved America. I still love America. I had a beautiful home that we had purchased. I was married for 39 years. I had to sell my home and my vehicles, and I had to give everything I had at my home of 39 years away. We had no time to sell it. God said, you go now. So that was a real hard thing to do, because that was my memories, that was my life. That was everything that I had gotten from my children. So coming here and then living in the village, I just said, yes, Lord. I've had my times of crying. Believe me, I've cried. I have cried. It's been very hard. But you just have to humble yourself and say, okay, God, these guys have it worse than I do. I can still go back to America, and I can still buy the things that I need when I'm there, if I have the money. But these guys are so poor in so many ways. It's not like it is here in Nairobi. It's the village is very poor. It's very down, and life for people. The word that you can use for these people is despair. There's no hope every day. So you only offer them God, and you realize no matter what I had back home, you look at them and you say, I still have it better.
Yeah.
I still have life better.
You mentioned it's a village in Bungoma. Which village exactly? And maybe just who would you say who would you call upon to come on board and just help with some of the challenges that you've mentioned?
Who would I call upon for what?
Who would you love to call on board? You know, with just helping with some of these challenges that you've pointed out.
Okay. We live in a village called Nyangali.
Nyangali.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's near, if anybody knows, that's outside of Bungoma, but it's near Mayanja, Kibuke. And near Maluki. So Maluki's on one side, Kibuke's on the other side, and we're in between. And as far as help, if we ever had donations to our ministry from people of even clothing or shoes or medical expenses, or if we had services where they could come out and give clean water to our village, if someone could if they could dig a well, oh my goodness, these things would make a huge impact for so many people. And people have put in wells there, but not deep. And so the water's really bad. And so we need to get a well. I've looked into it before, but the expense of it, when you don't have a job, the expense of it is just too much. So even Bibles, there's so many people that can't even read. There's so many people that haven't been taught. I was going to open up a class for reading, but the people are embarrassed to come because they don't want to admit they can't read. So the place where we're from is just needing a lot. They really need a lot. And even the children, we have children that we're putting into schools. Schools are extremely expensive here. You get them out, you get them through the first few years of school, and now they get graduated. The government moves them on to, some of the higher schools, and it's expensive. And our ministry has been trying to take care of 40 children, and this for many years now, and it's very, very difficult. It's a lot of money, and in America, the way it works is that you've got the government that pulls the monies out of your check, and those monies go to the schools. But here, you're as a parent or provider, you have to pay all of those school fees, and the schools will tell you how much you have to pay, but then they always add and add and add and add and add, and you can't ever fight with them. They just want it, or they send the children home. So every need out there. Every need. If we could get some services out there. The illegal activity that's going on out there is very bad. We have some people that came in illegally and started a rock quarry, and they came from Uganda, and they're a Chinese group, and they're using a whole bunch of Kenyans, and they're destroying our land, and it's right next door to our homes. It's not in a huge area. It's within a half a mile of my house, and right next door to many other people's homes, and they blast. And they are destroying all of our homes, and homes are falling down, and the rocks come down on cars and vehicles in the road, and we just have a small little road. They're not supposed to be there, but we have a lot of issues with people that are trying to get some help for this situation, and there is nobody that will come to our rescue because the way things are here in Kenya. And you know what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, since I can't really confirm, since I haven't been there and I can't confirm, so let me not dwell much on that, because I haven't been there and gotten to confirm some of the things that you've mentioned. But I hope that whoever can come on board, to just try and help with all of that will do what is needed to be done. Maybe just what's the most rewarding aspects about doing what you do?
Well, there's two sides. One, giving the gospel is the most rewarding, but helping people, even when you give and you give and you give till you have nothing left, you still know that that person's going to eat tonight, or that they're going to get that help at the doctor, and that is probably the most rewarding for me. It's so difficult to even come up sometimes with 50 shillings or 300 shillings to help somebody, but once you do, once you come up with it and you're able to help them, or I'm able to borrow from somebody, or whatever I need to do, it is most rewarding to know that they're in the hospital, they're getting the help that they need, and that they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
So I just love that for what we do.
That gives you satisfaction.
Yeah. Oh, very much, very much. I love that.
How would you say, or the best way to go about building trust? Because for doing what you do, you really need to build trust, and build relationships with the people that you work with as well. So how do you go about that?
Yeah. Kenyans as a whole, they have a very difficult time with trust. So that's something that you really have to work on, because Kenyans will say something, but they won't necessarily follow through with it. So that's kind of how.
Oh wow!
That's
you can't generalize though. You can't generalize.
It's kind of the way it is when you're working with people. They'll say that they're coming and they don't come, or they say that they'll take part or whatever, and they don't come, and they don't take part. So you have to be the one to work with them and to follow through and to give and to support. And when you say that you're going to come, you come. And when you say that you're going to take part, you take part.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to show them that this is how you want things to operate and to work in your ministry the best you can. I'm a very straightforward person, and I just don't lie.
Yeah.
I just say it like it is, and I get the job done the best that I can.
Yeah.
And when I'm out there doing that, then people learn to trust that. So that's kind of what I do.
Yeah. Is there a moment that you can share with us that made you particularly proud of just what you do? Are there moments that you can share with us that just made you feel, okay, yeah, I'm proud of where I am right now, I'm proud of what I do?
Wow. That's tough. There's a lot of things that I'm very happy with, but it's been very hard for me here in Kenya. I almost lost my daughter, and the Lord saved her, but it was very, very tough to get her out of the hospital. I lost my husband, and I've been through more bad things than you can possibly imagine. But as far as that is concerned, sharing the gospel with everybody. And when you lay your hands on people and people can walk, or the tumors fall off their face, or their ears are opened, or they can see, that is the most rewarding. When you pray for people and you see God come through for them, you see that person has the faith to believe, and you just walk away and you say, thank you, God. And then with the people, everything is a victory, because you overcome everything to be able to make something work. And so for me, it's just been a victory for everything. But the most rewarding, I would say, is preaching the Word of God and watching when God heals people. I would say that.
How would you measure the impact of your work?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels very small, because I feel like a drop in the bucket compared to what Kenya needs. But I know I'm growing, and I know that if I wasn't here, there would be a lot of people that would not get help. And I sometimes look at it like that one, because sometimes I feel like I'm accomplishing very small things. But I know that if I was to go and not provide, there would be a lot of people that wouldn't have, including medical, because we pay a lot of medical for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any maybe advice that you would give to someone who would be interested in also doing the same work of, just working with the community, trying to help, the less fortunate? Is there any word that you would love to give them for someone who's looking to get into doing such?
I'll tell you, if they could recognize the need, and if they're looking for that, just step out in faith and take your resources and do what you can. Don't ever think that what you have is too small, because what I have is very small. But we can make a difference, and we can change somebody's life today. And if they can step out and just use a little bit, God rewards, and He brings more, and He brings more, and He brings more. And looking at the face of that person. I have a young girl that comes to my home, and she sells pieces of fruit to me. And she has a pawpaw tree, and she grows them. Her father just left all the children with the mother, and they starve if they don't sell that fruit. And I can't eat what she brings all the time, because it's just me. So I'll take a little one, but I have been giving it out to the families. I buy it from her, and what I buy from her is about 100 shillings or 50 shillings, sometimes 120. But I always give her 200 every time, so that she can just go and get some food that day. And when you see her face, and you see that smile come, it's like all of a sudden life is good for her. And that's what it's all about. And you just want to make that difference. So for the people that have it in their heart to come and to provide, even for my ministry, if they have anything that they can give for my ministry, even blankets and things like that, people are always in need. And if they want it to work like that, just do it. Just step out. Just believe God, step out and do what you can.
Yeah.
I have a website. They can reach us through email on that website. And they can talk to us through there if they want to.
You can share the website?
Yeah, it's The Last Call Ministries, INTL, so it's international. The Last Call. And so just to be able to bring something to the people. You know, they wake up every day and they call themselves Christians and they want to go to church and they want to worship God. But the need in the heart is so bad. The need in the community is so bad that they are looking for something more than they want to go to church right now. They're looking for food for their babies or medicine for their children. So I think that the best thing is to be able to reach their hearts and to be able to give them what they need, and then we can open up the gospel to them. And that's kind of what some of my motive is. Sometimes when I go and I preach at places, I don't have much money, and the churches all want me to give and give and give and give and give to help them, and I don't have that kind of money to give. They want me to feed everybody for all these days of my preaching. So we do what we can, but I generally don't have that kind of money to be able to feed everybody all the time. If I did, I would do it, but I don't. So well, if I go for 3 days, we might pay for one, and then let the church pay for, come together and pay for one. But we look for that need, fill that need as much as you're able to, and then we can reach the heart of the people. You can't really reach them unless you satisfy what they're longing for, and then you can talk to them about Jesus, and give them something that's going to be lasting. That old adage that they say, you can teach a person to fish, and they can eat
Give
for a
them fish
lifetime,
or
you can give them a fish,
give them a road.
you would have to continue to do it every day.
Yeah.
So I would rather teach them to fish, and so you give them the fish, and then you teach. So that's kind of my method of what I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So with the program that you do, could you tell me about the program? You mentioned you have 40 children that you see through school, that you're taking them through school. Just tell me about the program more about.
Well, the children are local children to where we are, and some ministry children where we are. I don't have monies for all of them right now. I'm 6 children short, and we had our house broken into, and a lot of my money was stolen. And because of it, the money for the children was taken. So we have many of the children that are going to be going, but there is a lack right now of 6 children, and but these children are local children there, and and the widows and orphans are local to that area. And we even have a program for the children in church, where when they come and they have their babies, and we try to help them, give them mattresses and things of that nature. And other things we do for people are, I bought a sewing machine for a woman who needed to make money, and she was trying. So we tried to get a business started for her, and we bought her, not just a sewing machine, but the scissors and the threads and the materials and all of those things. So it's just basically something we do from our heart. It's not something that I have, strategic measures on. It's got to be this way. We look for the need, and we try to fill it the best that we can in our local area.
All right. Maybe what would be your last remarks?
Wow. Maybe if there's just anybody that's willing to give, that's willing to step forward and to help in the ministry with any types of giving, or if they want to step out themselves, like what you were talking about, I think that would just be wonderful if they could do that.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, Prophet Ruth, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
All right. This is where we end this conversation, and this is where we end Good Morning Kenya for today. Thank you so much for staying tuned. My name is Vivian Degwa, and right now I will leave you with the weather updates.
The HIV epidemic in Kenya began gaining attention in the early 1980s. By the 1990s, the virus had spread rapidly, leading to a national health crisis. At its peak, the adult prevalence rate was among the highest in the world. Today, Kenya has made remarkable progress.
Want to look through this matter identity because the most affected are the young people.
I believe purpose is why you are here.
Okay.
Yes. At such a time as this, I'm going to bring Macy into the world, and she's going to have this assignment. She's going to carry this burden.
Oh.
So it is an assignment that has been given to us by God.
David served the purposes of God in his generation. No man will ever live to affect 2 generations.
The HIV epidemic in Kenya began gaining attention in the early 1980s. By the 1990s, the virus had spread rapidly, leading to a national health crisis. At its peak, the adult prevalence rate was among the highest in the world. Today, Kenya has made remarkable progress. The adult prevalence rate has decreased significantly, but the virus still affects millions. Approximately 1.6 million people live with HIV, and the challenge remains to ensure access to treatment and prevention for all. In rural regions, accessing care can be difficult. Innovative approaches like mobile clinics and community health workers are bridging gaps in service delivery. Shining Hope for Communities Shofco, a grassroots movement based in Nairobi, Kenya, in urban slums, is providing services, community advocacy platforms, education, and leadership development for women and girls. Despite this, Shofco is also aimed at providing quality primary healthcare and healthcare education in slums communities where the prevalence of waterborne diseases, malaria, and HIV, which is on the rise.
In general, our approach in terms of health service provision is that we are working on 2 aspects. The first aspect is the community health strategy, and then now the secondary part of it, which is now services at facility level.
In Kibra, the prevalence of HIV is significantly higher than the national average. Limited access to healthcare, coupled with high levels of stigma and misinformation, exasperates the crisis, but Shofco has come to bridge this by providing medical care.
My name is Efi Onditi. I'm a clinical officer and a clinic coordinator in Shofco Chandaria Clinic. It's one of the Shofco clinics. We have 2 currently. We have the services that we provide in the clinic include family planning, we have primary health care, we have laboratory pharmacy services. Also we have a CCC which deals with HIV patients and TB patients.
Counseling and support groups play a critical role in helping individuals affected by HIV. In Kibra, community health workers are on the front lines offering not just medical care, but emotional support and education.
We usually give these clients TCAs monthly, or when a client is diagnosed, we will initiate them on drugs depending on whether the client is ready. If they are not ready, we cancel the clients first until when they are ready. So we do baseline investigations, then we start monitoring them on a 2-weekly basis. Then depending on how the client is faring on, we progress them to a month, then after every 3 months. Others will even give them TCAs of up to 6 months.
2 residents from Kibra, Susan Ligare and Bernard Owino, have come out proudly to speak about their HIV status and how they are mobilizing the community to get tested and know their status.
Niligundua tarehe 12 mwezi wa 4 2017, na vile niligundua si mara ya kwanza, nilienda hospitali tu kale ka chemist, nikaenda kupimwa. Sasa ile hali ilifanya nikaenda kupimwa ile herpes. Nilikuwa na herpes kwa mwili. Sasa ndio huyo daktari akanituma kwa Shofco niende nitipiwe huko. Kufika kule nikapata niko na virusi. Si kufa moyo. Nikaingia nikapimwa, tukatanisha na huyo daktari, lakini nikamwambia lazima utanipima na utanipa result zangu. Nikapimwa. Ijapo kuwa iko rahisi, lakini nilikubali yote sababu ilikuwa imeshanipata. Nikatipiwa na nikapimwa, nikapata HIV positive, nikachukupali. Hiyo siku ndio nilianza kutumia dawa yangu hiyo tarehe 12 mwezi wa 4 2017. Mpaka leo ningali natumia dawa zangu.
Nilijua kwa kupimwa, hali ya HIV nikapimwa, nikapatikana niko na virusi. Nilipimwa 2016 mwezi wa 10. Nikapatikana niko na virusi. Immediately nikaenroll kwa dawa. Nikaanza kumeza dawa, nikaanza mpaka sasa hivi naendelea kumeza dawa. Na wakati ya kwanza dawa kwa mara kwanza kulikuwa na changamoto za kawaida za dawa zilikuwa nazo. Kuna issues kidogo ambayo ilikuwa inaja mwili kwa sababu haziko zimezoea mwili. Sasa kuna wakati ilikuwa inaleta shida kidogo, lakini nirudi kasoea nikienda dawa mpaka sasa naendelea kwa dawa.
Despite advancements, stigma and discrimination remain significant barriers. Many people living with HIV face a lot of fear to know about their status, which can deter them from seeking testing and treatment. Susan and Bernard help in sensitizing the community on the importance of testing.
Wana Kibira kama hapa Kibira, kila mara huwa nawaelezea, ukiwa mgonjwa usikue mwaraka wa kwenda hospitali, unameza madawa. Enda pima hali yako, ujue vile uko. Kama uko HIV positive, ndio uanze dawa, lakini usikue una mwaraka wa kwenda kwa chemist ukinunua dawa, na nawaambia waendelee kupima.
Kwa shauri yangu nimeona hakuna haja mtu waogope. Ni heri ujijue mapema kuliko ugunduliwe kama pengine umelala chini. Watu wengi watajua sana. Unajua ukienda peke yako ujigundue, utajua mapema. Ukienda kama uko mzima, uko na afya yako ya kawaida, unaenda kama unatembea peke yako, unaweza jieleza peke yako, unapimwa, unarudi nyumbani ukijua niko na virusi ama mimi sina. Na wakati utaenda na mtu, unajua watu wengi ambao wanaweka siri. Yeye pengine atatoka siri yako. Pengine atambii mtu mwingine akifikiria na mweleze kumbe hapana. Yeye mwenyewe jua hali yako, alafu aanze dawa.
Women living with HIV are more likely to access HIV testing and anti-retroviral therapy than men. This is due to better health-seeking behavior among women and the existence of HIV-related services designed specifically to reach women, such as services to prevent mother-to-child HIV transmission that are provided during antenatal care.
One of the areas that has a challenge is on ANC, because when you are testing our pregnant mothers, it is always advised so that it is the female comes and never in test female who are tested more than parts. Yeah. I think in on the low numbers as expected, and one of the things that you're noting is that HIV infection currently is becoming common in the youth. Yes, but in terms of testing, I think the uptake is not so good. And I think it's because of maybe some of them are afraid, they don't want to be judged, and you know, the fear of coming to a health facility and being seen by someone that so-and-so went here. So I think that is one of the areas that scares them. So we've tried as a facility to put the HIV testing room aside, somewhere that is a bit private, so anyone can walk in there anytime and they get tested. Yes. And then we're also doing a lot of advocacy through our community health promoters and also the support groups that we are conducting.
It's positive, mostly on the factor of females. On the male, we are still struggling because we'll find when you diagnose a female client, you encourage them to bring their spouses. The turnout on the male counterpart hasn't been quite so good, but we keep on trying.
In the fight against HIV, knowledge is power. Every individual has a critical role in ensuring their health and contributing to the broader public health efforts. It's a key step in managing personal health, preventing transmission and ending stigma.
Kwa jumla kwa Kenya sasa hivi ni mtu akitaka afe na HIV akiona stigma kwenda kupimwa mwenyewe agopa, lakini sasa hizi hii kitu ni kama kitu kawaida. Ni kama hizi vitu vingine tu unatibia kama hizi za kawaida. Sasa hiki ambacho ni tisha pekee ni kaanza peke yake ndio tisha. Lakini sisi kwa wengine kama tuko na hii, hatuoni kama tisha kwetu. Tunaona maisha kawaida, tunaishi kama watu wengine, kwa mtu tukisema pale nje. Tuko sana watu wengine hao. Hakuna siku nasikia mtu ya HIV ameenda malazo chini au kwa order tamalala, hapana. Yako sawa kawaida kwa sababu anatumia dawa kwa njia vizuri. Anajua hali yake. Unakula. Unajua kuna watu wanasema kukula vizuri. Sasa lazima uko na pesa mingi ukule mzuri. Balance diet, chakula hata kuna shilingi 50, una balance diet yako, una balance na Indiana. Kwa hivyo pengine mtu anafikiria sina pesa kula mzuri, hapana. Balance diet kuna 50 boba kibira, unakula una balance diet yako, unapata afya kawaida, utafanya kazi kama watu wengine kama kawaida. Isipokuwa mwenyewe uko na stigma, unaanza kujishuku.
Taking care of oneself with HIV involves a combination of medical management, lifestyle advancements and emotional support.
Kama wale wenye wako na hali kama yangu, wasikifa moyo. Wao watie Mungu mbele na wasiache dawa. Wana time ya kumeza, wasiache. Ikuwe ni kama ni saa 2 ni saa 2 na waendelee. Wakiendelea hivyo hata sisi wenye tu, hata mimi mmoja wao ninaendelea, hata niko na watoto wako negative. Sasa waendelee na mapa morale.
Kenya is on course to end HIV and AIDS as a public health threat by 2027, as directed by President William Ruto. The Sustainable Development Goals aims to end HIV and AIDS as a public health threat by 2030. President Ruto last year pushed Kenya's goal to 2027.
HIV-related commodities are estimated to cost between Kenya shillings 27 or between 27 and 30 billion annually. And owing to a decline in donor support, the funding gap now stands at US dollars 11.7 million. The government is committed to progressively increase domestic funding in order to sustain the gains made so far in partnership with PEPFAR.
The journey to overcoming HIV in Kenya is ongoing. It is a story of struggle, resilience, and unwavering hope. Together, communities, healthcare workers, and individuals continue to fight for a future where HIV is no longer a shadow of our lives.
I would advise the community to come out in numbers because our aim is, we usually say in the HIV clinic, a 95% rule, whereby we make sure in Kenya, 95% of the population have been tested. Out of the 95% that have been tested and turned out positive, 95% of them to be initiated on treatment.
just want to look through this matter identity because the most affected are the young people.
I believe purpose is why you are here.
Okay.
Yes. At such a time as this, I'm going to bring Macy into the world, and she's going to have this assignment. She's going to carry this burden.
Okay.
So it is an assignment that has been given to us by God.
David served the purposes of God in his generation. No man will ever live to affect 2 generations.
Friday night again.
Greetings in the name of the Most High Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice, we
have to do it twice.
Now to Kenya and the forests of the Greater Mara. Nomadic cattle herders traditionally rely on this forest for water, shelter, and to feed their livestock. But drought is increasingly common, and the woods are also at risk from illegal logging. So Maasai women from traditional cattle farming communities are expanding their skills to adapt to the changing times.
The Nyakweri Forest. This nature reserve in southwestern Kenya is under threat. Its greatest enemies are extreme weather conditions and deforestation. But there is hope. Local Maasai women are helping look after it.
They've changed, they are powerful, and they can be able to manage it on their own. In fact, it's becoming a threat to the men. But it's good because at the same time it empowers the whole family and the whole community.
Things are different now. We milked our cows and that's all we had. During drought, we would eat wild fruits and cook them for our children so that they don't go hungry.
Mama Lucy alisaidia wamama kwa
Mama Lucy has really
alitusaidia zizi kwa sababu mara ya kwanza alijengea wamama ile nyumba ya nyuki.
Lucy Mulenke is Maasai herself and grew up here. In 1996, she founded an environmental protection initiative with indigenous women. She has trained around 700 Maasai women in the Nyakweri area so far. They learn new skills such as growing different types of vegetables in their own gardens, such as spinach and kale, and also about the need to protect the forest.
The rainfall is not coming as it used to. And so by training them and trying to give them why they should make sure that they protect the forest and also be able to have and not to burn charcoal as it used to be, because that was a big threat around here. It was really, and also logging, and the communities, neighboring communities cut the traditional trees, which are very important for firewood.
The Maasai women traditionally welcome visitors with song. Landowner Shadrach Oleseyo gave the women land for the organization's resource center, which includes a demo farm. He was impressed by Lucy Mulenke's project and donated 5 acres, the equivalent of about 3 football pitches. I decided to give the women this piece of land because they came to my home and asked me if I could provide them with a place where they could develop their project. I decided to give them a section of my land. The women have also teamed up with the forest rangers in the conservation area. Here, they're monitoring the local pangolin population. They have also planted trees with the women and educated them about the importance of protecting the forests. Our forest has important wild animals, and we do not want to destroy it, so that the animals disappear and eventually lose our livelihood.
Pia tunaenda kuongelesha wase, naongelesha
we speak to the people working to protect the conservancy,
sasa hii conservancy yetu
and progress has been good.